Shout out to Candace Owens. Let's say what she's saying. A lot of people are kind of picking sides on this situation with Israel, United States, Iran. Some people from MAGA, they're kind of fed up with the constant wars that Israel's trying to get into. They feel like Trump needs to step away from them. Some people feel like Netanyahu is controlling Trump and wanting a regime change in Iran. One of the people that feels like they want a regime change in Iran is Candace Owens, and she's been very vocal about it. And, you know, she kind of just like us, man. Like, she don't want no more wars, nothing like that. You know what I mean? And some of the people on the right have been attacking her and saying that she's wrong. But I think all in all, like, when you really pay attention to what's been going on, I think and shout out to Candace Owens. She's actually my neighbor. Shout out to Candace Owens. But I think she's been spot on with a lot of this. You know, I do want to say that they were thinking about, I think they nominated Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize, but then I think it was withdrawn Monday, is what, you know, the rumors and everything is stating. They withdrew the Nobel Peace Prize thing on Monday. I don't know about that, but, you know, because he's still trying to make sure there is peace. He talked to Vladimir Putin. Putin wanted to know if Trump needed any help, I guess, talking to Iran to try to continue the peace deals. But Trump said he doesn't really need help with Iran. He needs help with Russia, you know, with the peace deals between Russia and Ukraine, you know. So we'll end up seeing what happens with that over time. But Candace Owens has been very vocal, you know, and calling out a lot. And I'm not mad at her, bro. Like, I'm not mad at her. Like, she's still right wing. She just wants to make sure that there is no wars, no new wars, and we get exactly what we voted for. So shout out to Candace Owens. We will end up listening to what she's got going on. She actually did. Shout out to Piers Morgan. Y'all know I rock with him. She went on Piers Morgan today, and we're gonna get into all of that, but we're gonna let Candace Owens talk. Shout out to her.
And yep, it's looking like our boss BB is bugging. You guys, I mean, that man is just out of control. And now there's some real beef, and I'm kind of excited about this, brewing between him and Donald Trump. I haven't seen a beef this big since Tupac versus Biggie. Plus, I learned, color me shocked, that there is a figurative bounty on my head. Apparently, influencers, if they're small-time micro-influencers, are making up to $1,000 to make anti-Candace and anti-Tucker Carlson videos. And also, bigger influencers are making even more than that. I wonder who could be paying them. Well, I'm willing to pay to find out, so welcome back to Candace.
What's up, Craig Wilson? Let's fast forward and shout out to Candace Owens and see what she got to say.
So we jumped off the podcast yesterday. I'm feeling good. We had a huge show yesterday, and almost immediately there's news of a...
Wait, hey, Richard, Donald Trump is actually, like, trying to get this peace negotiation deal done, you know, and he's trying to further peace. It's Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi. What is her title said? Truth bombs, F-bombs on Trump drops F-bombs on Israel. Trump is still trying to figure out a way to negotiate peace. I think Trump went ahead and dropped them bombs on Iran because it was talking reckless, bro. Like, they was threatening the United States, all that. It was talking reckless. He's not about to play that. So, you know, it is what it is with that. But then after he dropped them bombs, you know, the nuclear programs and all of that, like, they wanted to come to the table with negotiation for peace. When he went on that podium and he got serious and they seen all them people around him and he came out like, you know, we about to go to war, like, type, the way he came out, bro, like, Iran ain't want no problems with America because they seen firsthand, like, we will strike you in the middle of the night, nobody knows, dark, and we will hit our targets. You know what I mean? And, like, the amount of people that we have in the military is astronomical compared to y'all. Our population, we got 340-something million Americans to y'all, which y'all got, like, no, bro, you don't want no problems over here. Russia's already busy with Ukraine. So your next line of defense for people to help you is Russia, and they busy right now. So y'all need to just for the betterment of y'all. You know what I mean? If y'all really want to think about y'all future, go ahead and do this peace talk. You know, so shout out to Trump, man. He let them know not to mess with United States. That's what it was.
Total ceasefire between Israel and Iran, because we learned this information apparently because Trump was able to broker peace. He jumps onto Truth Social and he announces this. He says, "Congratulations to everyone. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire." And then he puts in quotation marks, rather mysteriously, in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions. For 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. Officially, Iran will start the ceasefire, and upon the 12th hour, Israel will start the ceasefire. And upon the 24th hour, an official end to the 12-day war will be saluted by the world. During each ceasefire, the other side will remain peaceful and respectful. On the assumption that everything works as it should, which it will, I would like to congratulate both countries, Israel and Iran, on having the stamina, courage, and intelligence to end what should be called the 12-day war. This is a war that could have gone on for years and destroyed the entire Middle East, but it didn't and never will. God bless Israel. Of course, Israel first. God bless Iran. God bless the Middle East. God bless the United States of America. And God bless the world. Signed off, Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. And he posts this at 5:02 p.m. I mean, literally almost right when we finished this stream. And yeah, you know, first and foremost, I'll say when I saw that, when I was looking at just the explanation of how it was going to go down, like Iran was going to stop firing first, and then Israel was going to stop firing first, I went to myself, okay, somebody's playing a trick here. Right? If you're going to do a ceasefire, you just say, hey, everybody stop firing at 5 p.m. Eastern. Anybody who fires beyond that.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Why did the ceasefire, right? Because originally the reports was, okay, so they negotiated the ceasefire, but it doesn't take place until 6 hours. Right? So they got 6 hours to continue to bomb each other. That was the initial report. And then Trump said 12 hours. So they got 12 hours to resolve it. That's like you got a problem with somebody from another block. You know what I'm saying? And y'all about to do like some sort of, y'all ain't about to be blowing up each other's spots. You know what I mean? Doing all of that drive-bys, all of that. But you got 12 hours to do what you got to do before the truce takes place. You know, and that, I think it should be immediate. I'm with her. I think it should be immediate. You don't want to leave any wiggle room for somebody to. So allegedly, right? So people are saying that Iran, because Trump was going off on Iran. Let me show y'all this real quick. Trump said bad words. We're going to get to all of this. He said bad words. He said a lot of things that we never expected Trump to say, you know? And it's really for both of them. He kind of went in on both of them. Let's watch this real quick. Let's go to this one and watch them real quick.
But reports coming from happy of Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land that was shot. Perhaps violated, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land.
So people are like taking this out of context of what Trump is saying, because people are saying, oh, he's just trying to blame Israel. He's trying to blame Israel. Iran shot off a rocket and Israel's responding. This is what's going on Twitter right now. But he's saying like the rocket that, or whatever, the missile, whatever it is, that Iran shot off never landed, right? Because they're still like in conflict during the negotiations and everything. It's still a conflict, right? And so Iran launches a missile, whatever, but it doesn't hit Israel. It just, they launch one, but it doesn't hit. So I don't know if it's like guided, like once they figured out everything was going to be a ceasefire, it was already out, and then it's guided, and then they kind of like moved this trajectory. I don't know, but it never landed and hit Israel. and Israel just let off a whole lot of munitions. You know what I'm saying? Missiles and everything like that. A huge payload. They end up letting off. And this is what Trump is trying to say. So people are saying that Trump didn't know what he was talking about, but he actually knew what he was talking about when he said this. He just didn't specify things. But if you really look into what he was saying, he actually knew what he was talking about.
They say, okay, now you have 12 hours. You don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with...
And another thing, before we get back to Candace Owens and everything, I love how he's calling out Israel, bro. Like, a lot of people, oh, Israel run the United States. Israel's pulling the strings of the presidents. I've thought that for the longest time because of the way Joe Biden's been moving, the way, George W. Bush was moving, Obama was moving. Like, the way I felt like Israel was basically controlling us. Trump is talking reckless to Israel, and he don't care. Somebody said Trump is confusing. No, I mean, I think he just didn't say exactly which spot, you know what I mean, like launch the missiles first. But if you really look into what he's saying, like he's basically telling you what's going on. You know, so I mean, he was actually spot on about this. People trying to give him grief for this, but he was spot on about this.
Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
And I like that he's holding both of them accountable. He said they violated, but Israel violated too. He's holding them accountable. Love that.
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before.
Zachary said, if you think that, you are mentally regarded. Bro, you don't even know how to spell. Come on, Zachary.
The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about it.
And you hear what he said? Like, because there are reports saying, like, yo, like, after the ceasefire and everything like that, like, it was just, you know, it was already out. So I don't know if it was guided. You know, we got guided missiles and all. They got guided missiles and all that. Like, I don't know if it's just because he was like, yeah, maybe it was launched by mistake. You know, if it was launched purposely, you don't think that would have hit Israel? They've been hitting Israel pretty well, Iran. So, you know, maybe it was launched by mistake. Yeah. Hey, dude try to sneak this and said regarded. He said, if you believe this, you are regarded. Yo, I read the troll comments too, bro. But regarded, come on, dog. Hey, what y'all think about that? Regarded, like, come on, man. But shout out to Trump.
About that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Do you understand that?
Oh! He's talking reckless! And he knows his words about to circulate through the internet. Hey, that don't sound like somebody that Benjamin Netanyahu, nicknamed Bibby. It don't sound like that's somebody that's running Trump right now. It sounds like Trump is stepping up. You know what I'm saying? Talking reckless when it needs to be. I like that. And the only reason why Iran is in a position that they are in is because the United States backed them. Let's get that clear. He knows that. Trump knows that. But unfortunately, in America, religion rules all, right? So, and Benjamin Netanyahu understands and knows that Americans are slaves to religion, right? So he could like get up on a podium and say Trump is like an antichrist or some crazy, and then like Americans will revolt and want like a new president. Oh, let's get him impeached and all that. So that's the dangers with Benjamin Netanyahu. This is why a lot of presidents end up playing ball with Netanyahu, right? But Trump don't care. I'm going to call you out. I'm running this show here. I'm trying to negotiate peace talks, and you want to be up there launching missiles? Shout out to Trump, man. Thug life. Hey, Joe Biden would never. Joe Biden would never get real. He would never, get up in front of the cameras and talk about things as they were happening. Joe Biden would never. He would have to have 2 or 3 weeks of preparation before he addresses anything. Trump is right out here in the field. Literally. I mean, in the field where his airplane is and all of that. You know what I mean? But he addresses things like that. Leaves no room for you to think anything. Everything that happens in the Oval Office, you watching it live on TV. It gets to the point with the White House press secretary, shout out to Carolyn Leavitt, we rock with her. You don't even really need her because you can see Trump has utilized social media to his advantage. And I think that's why he outweighs the negativity of what's going on because he knows what's going on and he addresses everything immediately. Either he's addressing it, he's sending somebody else to address it, and it happens in real time. And you can see the negotiations and, you know what I mean, a lot of things, in real time. We have never seen, and this is why CNN is so mad at him, MSNBC, MSDNC, all of them, they're mad at Donald Trump. Because now, you don't have to, rely on their words of confusion. You can watch what's going on. You can watch the meetings. You can watch everything that's going on. It's in real time. So there's no way to make a mistake on this. Shout out to Trump, bro. Shout out to Trump. Let's see if he can walk up them steps, because y'all know Joe Biden couldn't walk up them steps. Let's see if he can walk up them steps. Now he walking up them steps. He walking up them steps. Joe Biden could never. All right, let's go back to my internet crush, Candace Owens, and hear what she's saying.
You're done, right? But instead, it seems like Israel kind of agreed, but they have to stop. They have to stop first, which is incredible because Israel started this war, and then Iran said we'll capitulate. Okay, great. Then he announces that the ceasefire, this is again on Truth Social, is now in effect. This is about 12 a.m., so at midnight. Ceasefire is now in effect. Please do not violate it. Signed off again, Donald J. Trump, the president. And so, like I said, I was feeling a bit suspicious. A lot of stuff felt immediately suspicious. I'm like, am I becoming cynical, or is all of this just so obvious that it's theater and we know where this is going to head? And come on, it's Israel. Do they listen to anybody? And another thing that kind of made me recognize just how maybe faking gay it all was J.D. Vance. As soon as Trump drops this, he was ready in the seat for an in-person interview with Fox News. Literally, he decided to travel to the studio and sit in D.C. across from Bret Baier to discuss this historic piece. I want you to take a listen and let me know if you recognize what's wrong with this.
Just seconds ago, the president went to Truth Social. And
oh, whoa. She going at J.D. Vance now? Candace. Come on, Candace.
It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire. Complete and total ceasefire is what he typed.
Yep.
What does that mean? How did it come about?
Mind you, Trump was just nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize, but I think they pulled the nomination Monday. But yeah.
The development.
Yeah.
Here.
Well, we were actually working on that just as I left the White House to come over here. So that's good news that the president was able to get that across the finish line. I think what it means, Brett, is quite simple. First of all, the president, without, knock on wood, having a single American casualty, obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. We are now in a place where we weren't a week ago. A week ago, Iran was very close to having a nuclear weapon. Now, Iran is incapable of building a nuclear weapon with the equipment they have because we destroyed it. So that's a very, very big thing. Now, what that means, I think, is we have to talk to Iran and, of course, to Israel about what the future holds. Because while we have obliterated the Iranian nuclear program, our hope and our expectation is that they're not going to try to rebuild that program. And I think that's what the president is really trying to figure out here, is to build a long-term settlement here to where we can have peace in the region, where our regional allies and, of course, the American people, most importantly, can be secured, but where we can ensure that the destruction of the Iranian nuclear program that has already happened is not something they try to rebuild.
Okay. So my face when I was watching that was actually, ironically, the JD Vance face. Remember, like, the now fashionable meme of JD Vance, like, I don't know about this one. And I'll tell you what instantly flagged me as wrong about this is that it's JD Vance. He is the vice president of the United States, and yet they are sending him to travel to Fox News studio to be able to sit down and communicate something to the American people that this is definitely totally done. And he is there seconds after Trump unleashes.
You know why that is, Candace Owens, because they want him to be the next president of the United States. But come on, Candace Owens, JD Vance. Don't be going at JD Vance, Candace Owens. No! She not playing, y'all. She not. Hey, Candace Owens taking no prisoners. She talking reckless to everybody. If y'all don't do what y'all say y'all gonna do, I'm going live. I got millions of people. Yo, we watched Candace Owens go from 1.8. If anybody's long-term subscriber to this channel, last year we watched Candace Owens go from I think it was 1.4 million followers. She's up to 4.3 million followers. She did not get to 4.3 million followers by just playing ball. She got there by having her opinion. They tried to take her opinion away. Remember, they removed her YouTube. They demonetized her. She had to go through that. She said, "Forget this platform. I'm going on the other platform, Rumble." Her fans went over there. YouTube was like, "All right, let's fix this." They remonetized her. She stayed out of politics. Y'all know how she could get in politics. She stayed out of politics. Like, all right, well, on this platform, politics, they kind of, we see how they play. She stayed out of politics. She did her 1-2s, went into entertainment, talked about Justin Bieber, all of that, Ryan Reynolds, and all of that, Taylor Swift, and she was just doing her thing. Next thing you know, all this starts off, and she starts going crazy. So I think what people are not understanding, she was chill for a minute. She didn't get a Republicans no problems for a while. It wasn't until Benjamin Netanyahu reared his evil head. I'm just saying, until Benjamin Netanyahu got in play and started bullying everybody is when she came out going against all of this. I rock with Candace Owens. Get mad, get mad, get mad. I think she's right with a lot of this, man. And because she has been so vocal, what she said has reverberated through Twitter, everywhere. All the major, Republican outlets paying attention to what she said. They're like, yo, Candace Owens is revolting. She not playing now. What's going on? Like, she getting out of line. And she stood on business. She on Twitter standing on business. We not supporting a new war because Benjamin Netanyahu wants to poke his chest out and keep his position. When you are in the new war, there is a thing called martial law. And you cannot remove somebody in power that is in martial law. She feels like Netanyahu's trying to keep control and have us put boots on the ground to protect him. Like, no, we're not doing that. I'm going against him. And I rock with her for doing it. I think the message was loud and clear. And now you got Trump trying to, he dropped them. he dropped them bombs on Iran. But then, like, you know, the MAGA was kind of conflicted with that. They're like, yeah, I mean, it's, you know, he had to show Iran to stop talking shh. Stop talking shh. He had to show him that, right? But, you know, some of the Republicans are like MAGA. They're like, yeah, I mean, we understand that. But, hey, all this other stuff, like, no, we don't want any more escalations. We want peace. Trump went back to peace, satisfying his base, right? And they brokered a deal between Iran and Israel. After the deal goes off, missile goes up, Iran. Didn't hit Israel, but Israel defense went crazy. You know? And she's still vocal about a lot of this. Like, so I don't know, shout out to Candace Owens. And it's cool to ride with somebody, but you got to be real too. Like, most people respect people who keep it real with them. You know what I mean? And she keeping it real with the Republican Party. I'm still Republican now. I'm not. Hey, and Republicans, y'all need to chill out. If she switches to being Democrat, y'all, we are screwed. Yeah, I'm a Republican. Getting mad. But we are screwed. Y'all see her fan base is crazy. Democrats would love to have her. You see Tulsi Gabbard switch from being a Democrat to a Republican. It could happen. It could definitely happen. You know? So let's let her have her opinion.
This Truth Social message, okay? So instantly I feel like actually they're panicking, right? Because you could send this down the line. I mean, you have press secretaries who have press secretaries. You have deputy press secretaries. You could have any other person in administration be the person that's got to run over to Fox News and deliver this message to the people and convince people that this is real. Why are you sending VP Vance? Why would you want him to be wasting his time doing that? He's the vice president of the United States. And you told us like 2 weeks ago that Iran was like totally about to kill you, right? Maybe a week ago. That Iran, like there was a viable threat. So please, let's keep JD Vance safe. Let's not have him traveling to Fox News studio when there is this totally viable, credible threat against you, in so much that we have to now travel overseas in these bombers to take out the nuclear sites in Iran, right? Anyways, that's how my brain works, but what do I know? The people loved it. It was just red meat being thrown to the crowd, and oh, we told you he was going to broker. This was all just 4D chess. It was 4D chess. Shame on you for not believing that Trump could establish peace, broker peace between Israel and Iran, and they're kind of trying to condemn people who called for peace, and also acknowledge Israel's record with peace, which is that they never have peace. They never have peace. They are not interested in peace, and they make that very clear. So I'll give you 2 examples of people just like, nah, boo, boo. First off, Avi Yemeni is an Israel firster. He writes, mock every last one of them who sided against Trump out of blind hatred for Israel, screeching about World War III while he was preventing it. Never let them or the internet forget that they chose the wrong side of history. This is like, you know, real MAGA guys, you know, the people that fought Trump every second of the way. And now that war is brewing, they're very happy. Now, because I don't suffer from like a need to be liked, I really just don't. I immediately just tweeted in the midst of all of these tweets that were calling out people who were anti-war and said this isn't a good idea to get involved with Israel again, that something didn't smell right, that obviously this was dumb. And the most obvious clue to you that it was not going to be this simple is the fact that Bibi Netanyahu is involved, okay? This is Bibi Netanyahu, just to put into perspective for you, who ignores the United Nations, who ignores the International Criminal Court, the International Criminal Court that America following. I mean, this is all the UN. Oh my gosh, after World War II, we need to establish the UN, the ICC, all of these courts because we need to make sure that a genocide never happens again. And then when they do their job and the ICC comes out and says, hey, Israel's committing a genocide and we're not okay with it, and we're calling for Bibi Netanyahu to be arrested, like an international arrest warrant. What did America do? Oh, it's amazing what we did. Like we said we need this court to prevent genocide. When they do their job, the United States government then instantly rushes and votes to sanction the international intergovernmental body that we helped create. Literally, look at this. Reuters. U.S. House votes to sanction International Criminal Court over Israel. Okay? Well, you're in trouble for doing your job. So in my honest viewpoint, in knowing, like as I did, that this was not going to pan out, I'm not even sure it's Bibi Netanyahu's fault. Like, why would he listen now? Like, you're Bibi Netanyahu, and you're so big and so bad and so gangster that you're committing a Holocaust in broad daylight, and people in America are rushing to defend you, to pass rules and go, you know what? Okay, I know we established this because the Holocausts were bad, but like, it's good, it's cool if Bibi does it. Like, what are you gonna do? This is a spoiled child, right? A child that never heard no. Imagine, America, we're his mommy, okay? We're his mommy that never tells him no.
What do y'all think about that spoiled child when she refers to Bibi Netanyahu, Benjamin Netanyahu? They call him Bibi. What do y'all think about that? I mean, the way it's been looking over the years, it does look like he's spoiled. He's trying to stay in power. Yo, I was disgusted, right? So there's like a image of Benjamin Netanyahu. It's a picture of him and a girl he with or whatever. Like they sitting like right at a tombstone or whatever of somebody that lost their life, and he's kind of just like trying to look sad, right? And it's like, come on, bruh. Y'all know how much devastation and unaliving has been done because Israel decided to bully and attack people, and you want to sit there and look like, yeah, come on, bro. Like, you're devastated and upset. Like, I don't buy Benjamin Netanyahu's mess, bro. Like, I really don't.
No, we back him up. This is that toxic mom who, like, her kid gets a bad grade because doesn't know the answers, and she just comes in and starts yelling at the teachers, right? Kid gets suspended because he got into a fight for the 10th time this year, and she's like, well, you know, the teachers are just anti-Semitic, obviously. Kid gets arrested driving drunk, kills 10 people. Mommy's sitting in the courtroom saying, no, my Bibi didn't do nothing. No, the system's rigged against Bibi. My beautiful Bibi didn't do nothing. Okay, that's what America is to Israel. I just want to be very clear.
Are you trolling? Somebody in the comments said Israel is God's people. Hey, I don't know about this. You know, if that's what y'all believe with religion or whatever, this dude right here is a maniac. In my opinion, he's a warlord. In my opinion, he needs checks and balances put on him.
They can do no wrong. We rush to defend them. Even when the whole world's like, no, hey, your kid just killed 10 people in a vehicular accident. We're like, no. So, yeah, I'm not quite sure that Bibi not listening to anybody is his fault, because then mom can't just sort of reverse the position and do a 180 and be like, hey, no, actually what you're doing here is wrong and we want you to stop bombing people. It's like, what I've been doing whatever I want my whole life, mom. I'm like old now. Literally. I mean, Bibi's been around for a very long time just telling America what to do. And yeah, that probably creates some sort of a psychopathology, but you know, I don't, who am I? I'm not Jordan Peterson. I can't tell you for sure. But I would say committing a genocide in broad daylight and having the Western press defend you has got to probably make you a little bit arrogant. So the other thing to me that made it obvious that this was not going to...
That's another thing. What she's saying. All right, so hold on. I don't want to leave her like this.
Last for even
my internet crush. Benjamin Netanyahu is going to have favor with media, especially in America. This is why I'm saying that. Remember when Trump dropped them bombs on Iran? Even CNN was rocking with Trump. I'm like, hold on. Something's up. Now, this is what people say. If certain type of people, J people, are supported, you know, they run the media. They run entertainment, they run the music, they run the media, they in the courts. They, you know what I mean? Like, they never want what happened in Germany a long time ago, that Auschwitz. They never want nothing like that to happen again. So they position themselves to run a lot of things. And in fact, I feel like they run a lot of media. They own a lot of media, all of that, right? It was very interesting to watch CNN side with Trump. Fake news. Because Trump called out fake news. Like in this, Trump was still calling, he was calling out fake news. But fake news, CNN, they low-key rally behind Trump, bro. Because one of the J people was being protected. That's why I feel like that was going on. So when she's saying things like this in the media, Benjamin Netanyahu was never really going to look bad. Ever. So he could do whatever. He operates with impunity, does whatever he wants to do, right? And if you Iran, you know, global media and everything like that, you really don't have any footing to where people can even understand like your plight or your situation. So Netanyahu understands like he's going to always win when it comes to media. In the United States, our media has a lot of reach, right? So it's interesting that she's talking like that and she's saying that. She's hitting a couple things on the head. Shout out to her.
In 5 minutes, and I'm wrong, by the way, it lasted for a whole 2 hours, was the obvious fact that Bibi Netanyahu apparently instructed his cabinet not to publicly speak about the ceasefire. So Trump has got J.D. Vance doing the absolute most, the vice president of the United States, like, it's over, it's done. And everybody's tweeting, victory, peace in the Middle East, it's over, forever. And meanwhile, Bibi Netanyahu, our gangster, our spoiled child, is sitting around going, say nothing. We don't do that. They didn't say anything. They were quiet. IDF didn't. They love the tweets. They go after, they're petty too. They'll go after Bella Hadid. They're quiet on a ceasefire, okay? And yeah, thought that was interesting. So I just went ahead and tweeted this. I tweeted, hate to be the cynic here, guys, but Bibi
I've seen this earlier. A lot of people reacting to this. She said, hate to be the cynic, guys, but Bibi Netanyahu has called for regime change, and that means one way or another there will be one. Perhaps going the favorite color revolution route or Iran violating the ceasefire route, but Bibi doesn't do peace. You can shout in the comments, but be sure to bookmark this tweet at the same time. Hey, she is, yo, this is crazy. Candace Owens has been calling all of this out, bro. Don't call her Candace. I see y'all trying to slander her. She's been right. You can't lie. She has been right about all of this.
And Yahoo has called for a regime change. And that means that one way or another, there's going to be a regime change. Okay?
Facts.
Perhaps going the favored color revolution route or the quote unquote Iran violated the ceasefire route. But Bibi does not do peace. I'm saying, look, he's going to say that Iran violated the ceasefire. And then I buttoned it with, you can shout in the comments, but be sure to bookmark this tweet at the same time. So I said,
then look what happened. Right after she said that.
send that out. People shouted in the comments, you just hate Israel. My gosh, you just hate Israel. No, I've just paid attention to Bibi Netanyahu's record, and he's got like, 1,000 times he's done this like a whole ceasefire, and then accuses the other side of violating it, and always the other side said, no, we didn't violate it.
Somebody in the comments said, I think, and they didn't even super chat, but they said, I think she's wrong. How is she wrong? What did she say that's wrong?
He violated it.
It's because you don't like that she's stepping against what's going on, like the status quo. She's not wrong.
And then we're just in the fog of war, and you got to pick what side you believe in. Anyways, you guys are not going to believe what happened next. You probably know. But yeah, just a few short hours later, while most of America was asleep, and this is the low-key super disrespectful part, is that they waited for Trump. Like, Trump sent us out at midnight, and I just happened to be up because I got an infant. And Israel magically claims that Iran, who, by the way, is still denying that they did this, violated the ceasefire. And of course, like I said, they could not wait until morning in the United States, which is like maybe 2 hours away. This is all going down at like 2:30 a.m. in the morning. They could not wait for Trump to wake up and respond. They instantly got the fighter jets out to respond to Iran with more bombing. And suddenly the IDF Twitter is working again. And they're acknowledging that, like, hey, I know you guys are all sleeping, America. And Trump tweeted this like 3 hours.
Yeah, they tried to do it while we were all asleep. Somebody said JJ said she is absolutely correct. They tried to do it while we was all asleep. This is why he mad, bro.
See a guy named Brian Roberts. He heads it. He's at this violated, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because of one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that.
He said a lot. And that brief, what was this, like 4 minutes or something like that? 4 minutes and 40 seconds? Most of it is him walking back to the jet. 4 minutes. He said a lot. He basically told you what's going on. Candace Owens is right about this.
Hours ago, but like we got to get our planes out and respond. So this is the IDF tweet. They write, in light of the severe violation of the ceasefire carried out by the Iranian regime, we will respond with force. Signed off by the Chief of the General Staff. And yeah, that's 3:26 a.m. our time, Eastern. And Trump wakes up maybe 1 hour later and he's absolutely furious. He's furious. And I want to be clear, this is not Trump acting, okay? He is legitimately upset, and he is specific and clear that he's upset with Israel because he knows that they are the ones that are yanking his chain. He knows what Bibi is doing now is just getting disrespectful. In the rap world, you know, rappers wear these chains. I don't know. There's got a lot of bling, bling, bling in them. Okay. The one thing that is considered the worst thing you could possibly do to a rapper, which basically signals that they have to kill you. I don't know why, but this is like a real thing in gangster world, is if you pull their chain. Just pull the bling, bling off. And that means it's time for war. And this is pretty much what Bibi's doing to Trump by letting him tweet that and then making him look like he's an absolute fool a couple of hours later. He's just yanking the chain here. Okay. So Trump's angry. He wakes up, he takes to Truth Social, and he writes this. Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Like,
yo, Trump said that? Hey, y'all said she was wrong? Hey, Trump kind of sees through Netanyahu right now. Israel, he sees through them. Say, Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do it, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. Thug life. He's telling them, like, don't drop them. Like, he know what they about to do. And y'all mean to tell me Netanyahu was controlling him? Like, nah, bro. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Shout out to Trump. Netanyahu, you better wake up, dog. Our president ain't playing. He calling you out. Israel, he calling y'all out. He see what y'all doing. The manipulation tactics. Oh, we got a peace treaty. You want to drop everything you got. He see that. He knew what y'all was about to do, and he put out a tweet 7 hours ago. Before she, you know what I'm saying, did all of this thug life, you know what I mean, some hours ago. You know, shout out to Trump, man. He not playing.
He's me talking to my toddlers right now because he realizes we've got a little.
That's probably why they like, no, we got to give Trump a Nobel Peace Prize. Because he ahead of this peace talk, bro. Yeah, Iran was talking reckless. Oh, we're gonna make Americans feel it. We're gonna end up hitting United States bases. He's like, all right, send them planes through. They learn their lesson. They shut up. Next thing you know, you hear they want a ceasefire. Shout out to Trump. But he knew what Israel was going to do. That's why he put out a tweet. This is the fastest way to get in touch with somebody in the world now. So I don't know, man. And they still did what they did.
Too far. Our kid is very spoiled, and he's just doing whatever he wants with our money. Like, he wouldn't even be able to do any of this.
And that's another thing. I love this. She said that. Shout out, clap it up for Candace Owens. People do not want to say this. Israel thinks they can do whatever they want with our money. Y'all know how much taxes she paying? A lot. She makes millions a year. Like, just looking off her YouTube channel, what she probably generating, she probably making like $50,000 a month. $60,000 a month is probably what she making, right? This is how YouTube acts. Think how much money she paying in taxes. I don't like paying taxes. When I gotta drop $20,000 to $30,000 in taxes, I don't like that. And to see our tax money going over there to Israel and they bullying everybody with our money, I'm not mad at her for saying something.
Wouldn't even be able to drive the car drunk if we didn't buy him the car.
He wouldn't be able to drive the car drunk if we did not buy him the car. Listen to what she's saying, bro. She's not holding back. She don't care.
Israel, do not drop those bombs. If you do, it is a major violation. Bring your pilots home now. It's like, he's me talking to my toddlers right now because he realizes we've gone a little too far. Our kid is very spoiled and he's just doing whatever he wants with our money. Like, he wouldn't even be able to do any of this. He wouldn't even be able to drive the car drunk if we didn't buy him the car. And obviously I knew that, like, Israel was going to do whatever they want. So Trump then follows it up with this message. He says, Israel is not going to attack Iran. All planes will turn around and head home while doing a friendly plane wave to Iran.
Somebody says sleeper cells active in America. Did you see what ICE just did? Hold on, let me show y'all what ICE did. They just deported a whole bunch of Iranians. Hold on. Let me show y'all this. Let me see if hold on. Y'all about to see something, bro. I don't want to do the fake news. You know, let's do it like this. Maybe I'll drop an article and show y'all. I don't know. It said ICE arrests 11 Iranian nationals. I mean, we'll do CBS. I mean, fake news, whatever. We'll do CBS. All right, it said ICE arrests 11 Iranian nationals in 48 hours. In its latest crackdown against illegal immigration, federal agents arrest 11 Iranian foreign nationals in 48 hours, including one watch list individuals, part of a series of targeted operations spanning 8 states and 9 cities nationwide. Among those arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement since Sunday, June 22nd, is Miran Makari, at his home near St. Paul, Minnesota. ICE officials say Sahili is a former member of the Islamic Revolution Guard Corps, an elite branch of Iran's armed forces. They said the detainee has admitted connections to Hezbollah, a U.S. designated foreign terrorist organization backed by Iran. I said that 5 of those arrests possessed previous criminal convictions ranging from grand larceny to drug and firearm possessions. The Department of Homeland Security says Yusuf had been living in America illegally for nearly 8 years, with federal authorities determining he lied on a visa application roughly 4 months after the Iranian foreign national was added to the U.S. known or suspect terrorist list in February. He was apprehended by federal agents Sunday in central Mississippi, just outside of Jackson. What's going on, Colin Radley? Shout out to Colin Radley. He said, what's up? What's going on with you, bro? Officials have not linked these arrests to any specific terrorism plots, and the Department of Homeland Security has stated that there are no current credible threats to the U.S. homeland. Despite heightened security environments, followed U.S. strikes on Iranian nuclear sites over the weekend. Now, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, right? In Tennessee, they are moving around tanks. I don't know why they're doing it, but they're moving around tanks. So people are getting kind of heightened, like, what is going on? Like, suspicious. But all 11 Iranians have been charged or accused of crimes beyond civil immigration violation, according to ICE officials, who say the arrested men represent a threat to public safety. Now, they have to say this, right? Because you're going to get a lot of Democrats. Oh, Iranians need to be in America. We need to keep them here. Politicians are probably going to go over there to Iran and try to keep them here. You know, they got to say, you know, there are crimes outside of the immigration violations that the reason why they're being deported, because they have to have more on them, because the Democrats will do anything to try to keep illegal people here. You know, we seen with the guy, the dude with MS-13 or whatever, like they were trying to get him back from El Salvador to America, all of that. Politicians even going out there to talk to try to get them here. Even though he's got previous, I think it was like domestic issues and all of that, they still want these gang members here because they want to go against the right-wing Republicans. So it was smart for them, you know, to have other charges on them to get them up out of here. While arrests Revar in northern Alabama on Sunday, the Department of Homeland Security says federal agents found an Islamic Republic of Iran Army identification card on the person. Oh my God, it's over! Y'all hear that? Says the Department of Homeland Security says federal agents found an Islamic Republican of Iran Army identification card on his person. And this person is sitting around going through America. According to ICE officials, Karimi purportedly served as an Iranian army sniper from 2018 to 2021. And y'all want him up in here? And entered the U.S. in October 2024 on a K-1 visa, reserved for immigrants engaged to be married to American citizens. Karmi is now detained in ICE custody, where officials say he will remain pending removal proceedings. In Colorado Springs on Sunday, ICE officials arrested Mohammed and Merdad. I'm not going to even attempt to say their last names. Iranian nationals who are living at the same home and who both had orders for removal against him. I said Shafai has a criminal history that includes state and federal convictions for drug crimes and arrests for assault and child abuse. Get them up out of here. In addition to the 11 Iranian nationals who were arrested, federal agents have also arrested U.S. citizen Lynette Vartanian, who was taken into custody on federal charges of threatening a law enforcement officer and harboring an illegal alien. ICE officials contend the woman threatened to open fire if immigration enforcement officers entered her home. Yo, and y'all think these people are peaceful? It's like he threatened to open fire if immigration enforcement officers entered her home. It's crazy. According to ICE, the defendant threatened federal agents during the encounter on Sunday, warning she would go outside and shoot officers in the head. ICE officials tell CBS News that the arrests since Sunday are part of the Trump administration's latest crackdowns on illegal immigration. Federal officials have aimed to dramatically ramp up immigration arrests, with average daily arrests climbing from 660 in President Trump's first 100 days to 1,200 in June. And the White House says its target is 3,000 arrests per day. And I will say this, I live in Nashville, Tennessee, right? They are cleaning up these streets that have been taken over by illegals. I'm just saying what it is. Shout out to Alina. She says she subscribed. Shout out to you, Thug. A lot of people subscribe. I think I got like 400 subscribers today. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? I appreciate every subscriber. So in Nashville, Tennessee, we got this road. It's called Nolensville Road. It's all, I'm not going to say no nationalities, but you can tell it look a little illegal up in there. It's being cleaned up. You know, we're seeing people driving around La Cucaracha, all kind of, you know what I'm saying? It's looking dilapidated. Like, Nashville is nice. But then you get to Nolensville Road, looks like a third world country. Like, what is going on? They are cleaning it up. ICE coming out here, revamping here. I drove down, because that's what a lot of barbershops are. I drove down Nolensville. I'm like, this looks like a whole nother place. Before, you used to have cars double parked. Cars with different, you know what I mean, colored doors and different type of tires and rims, all of that. The hood, the trunk, different colors from the car, all of that is not happening now. You have a car with like 200 people inside of it. You don't see much of that no more. It's getting cleaned up. You know, so shout out to them. You know, it also says we have been saying we are getting the worst of the worst out, and we are. DHS Assistant Secretary Tricia said in a statement to CBS News, we do not wait until a military operation to execute. We proactively deliver on President Trump's mandate to secure the homeland. I love that. You know, and like people crossing the border has went down significantly. Remember when Kamala Harris was talking to CBS, right? She was talking to them. They had the 60 Minutes interview, I think it was. And the guy told Kamala Harris, he was like, the number of people crossing the border have quadrupled. We know we covered the border. And with that, fentanyl has been coming over here in droves. right? And then Kamala Harris looked him in his face and she was like, well, we've cut the number of people by coming into the United States by half. So if the number of people coming over in America has quadrupled, which is 4. I don't know. I'm not Asian. I don't know math like that. I think it's by 4. It's quadrupled, right? You cut that in half, right? So you got double the people coming over, which means you got double the fentanyl, which means you got double the fentanyl, Kamala. What is you talking about? You even had CNN get real with Kamala Harris. When dude interviewed her at the town hall meeting, and he asked her, he was like, yo, don't you think the Democrats should have done something about illegal immigration years ago? I was looking at Anderson Cooper like, yo, did he really just say that? And Kamala Harris was looking at him like, Anderson, you better stop asking me real questions. And Anderson Cooper wouldn't stop. He was like, so are you going to do something about the border? And she changed the subject. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. Shout out to ICE. Shout out to Homan, for making a lot of these things happen. A lot of people, this is what the Democrats are running with. Oh, we got some Iranians running into America right now. They said, let's round them up. Let's round up these illegals. Come over here legally, but let's round up the illegals. Shout out to Homan. Shout out to Trump.
Nobody will be hurt. The ceasefire is in effect. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Yeah, he sends that out, and then immediately after that, Israel did, in fact, bomb Tehran. They dropped a bomb, okay? And rather hilariously, they called it a symbolic strike. They dropped bombs in Tehran despite having that communication from Donald Trump not to do it because they needed to send a message symbolically. And they said, oh, that's all we're going to do. We just needed to, send a symbolic message. And Trump is furious. And this is when he just drops an F-bomb about Israel because he realizes that they're making him look ridiculous. This is what he said to reporters on his way out to the helicopter in the morning. Take a listen.
Says that Iran violated the peace agreement, the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I'd never seen before.
Yep.
The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. When I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
I mean, not gonna lie, I love that energy. I'm glad that he's actually mad because it's been humiliating to watch this. It's been humiliating.
And see, when Trump does something right, what does she do? She stands behind him. If he does something wrong, what does she do? She questions things.
As a Trump voter, to watch Netanyahu humiliate Trump and his voter base. The voter base is now divided over his actions here.
Somebody said nobody respects Trump. Didn't he win the election by like 2 million votes? Well, I mean, the popular vote was like over 2 million people voted for him over Kamala. I know it's like electoral college and all that, but I mean, a lot of people kind of rocking with Trump. I don't know how y'all think she's a fool. She's calling out everything, bro. She's calling out everything.
This moment, Trump is real.
And one thing is, if you're going to be a journalist and you're going to move into this space, you have to be real. And I think she's being real.
Realizing that he's in an alpha male competition because, like he said, even when he announced the first ceasefire, Israel then went and bombarded Iran. I mean, we're dropping heavy bombs like, ha, 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 we've got a couple of hours left here. We're going to destroy you. You can't do anything. Ha, 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 ha. And then they instantly violated it. And they say, oh, well, this obscure rocket, which Israel's claiming they didn't do. Why would you, by the way? If you're not even going to hit anything, why would you send just one, as they allege that they did not do? and suddenly they're back on their planes while Trump is sleeping. This is disrespectful, okay? This is completely disrespectful, and I think Trump is waking up to that. And he seems to also, and I think this was to send a message to Bibi, be reversing course on his earlier message that he would support a regime change in Iran. Here's what he said when asked today about a regime change in Iran.
Do you want to see regime change in Iran?
No. If there was, there was. But no, I don't want it. I'd like to see everything calm down as quickly as possible. Regime change takes chaos. And ideally, we don't want to see so much chaos. So we'll see.
And I think he learned from George W. Bush. Like, you can't, like, send people into a land that is ran by religion and think you can change things like that. Watch the Dune movie, right? Dune 1. I think Dune 1 or Dune 2. Like, they went over there and they put, and I'm not saying that they got a false religion. I'm not saying that. But, like, they had people go over there and plant like a false religion. And so when the guy from Dune, like the main actor, went over there, they all thought he was like the Messiah. And it was nothing the Arkanans anybody can do. It was nothing you can do. Because once people's minds are made up, they're made up. So when George W. Bush sent people over there, oh, we're getting rid of Osama bin Laden, we changing things, we're going to have this be a democracy. They found out real quick, hey, it don't work like that when you're dealing with these religious places. You know what I mean? Like, so you got it, like, you talking about ingrained religion, indoctrination, and if you don't believe in it, you can be like unalived and all. Like, no, like, you cannot just change a regime or change the way that people do things overnight. No. And I think he learned from George W. Bush about it.
How it does. You know, the Iranians are very good traders, very good business people, and they got a lot of oil. They should be fine. They should be able to rebuild and do a good job. They're never going to have nuclear, but other than that, they should do a great job.
He's even like complimenting Iran here, and I think that's because he knows that Bibi's going to see it, and he's upset, he's angry, and he should be angry because Bibi Netanyahu does not respect anyone. He's never respected anyone, and I want to be clear, this has been the consistent messaging from Zionists since truly the first Zionist lobby. I mean, this is just, they don't listen, and they openly say psychopathic things in their government. I'm talking about the Israel government, their commentary that they have made about the Palestinian genocide. They don't care because, like I said, there's no consequences for anything. You can be defended and have people falling over themselves to defend you. When you are committing murderous crimes, what is your incentive to stop? It's got to be a high for you to murder people at a certain point. This is what happens when you reward a terrorist state. And they've been open in the past, even in their publications. Like, a lot of history is intentionally getting buried. And I really encourage people to go back and learn about the initial Zionist lobby. I mean, take it all the way back to just before the turn of the 20th century. To learn who has been pushing these objectives on behalf of Zionists, who one day woke up and decided as a political movement that they needed a state. And Theodore Herzl was not religious, which makes it even more hilarious that people think it's their biblical duty to defend the modern state of Israel. When the modern state of Israel was being established, they weren't making any biblical arguments. And I wanted to just even show you guys this, because imagine who you have to have no fear as a publisher. And this is back from 2012. This person who is a Zionist and who was the publisher of the Jewish Times to openly write that if we don't get what we want, we'll murder a president.
Yeah. That's crazy, bro.
This is real. Okay. This is real. This was published. And you have this guy, and I gotta get his name here. So could you just back up first to the wider shot? What's his name here? Is it Andrew Adler? Andrew Adler, who is literally the publisher of the Jewish Times in Atlanta. And he just writes like, hey, what are we gonna do if Barack Obama doesn't give us what we want? And he gives 3 things that they could do, and says 3, we could give the go-ahead for the U.S.-based Mossad agents, excuse me. Why do we have U.S.-based Mossad? Okay. U.S.-based Mossad agents to take out a president that is deemed unfriendly to Israel. in order for the current vice president to take his place and forcefully dictate that the United States policy includes its helping the Jewish state obliterate its enemies. It's funny, that is crazy, but that actually happened once. That there was a president who was not friendly to Israel and its incentives, and then he got kind of taken out, and then the person under him was unbelievably friendly to the Israeli state. His name was Lyndon Baines Johnson. Anyways, back to the article. I digress. It goes on, it says, yes, you read number 3 correctly. Order a hit on a president in order to preserve Israel's existence. Think about it. If I have thought of this Tom Clancy type scenario, don't you think that this almost unfathomable idea has been discussed in Israel's most inner circles? Another way of putting 3 into perspective goes something like this. How far would you go to save a nation comprised of 7 million lives, Jews, Christians, and Arabs alike? You have got to believe, like I do, that all options are on the table. With this in mind, pull that back up and close it. With this in mind, I again ask you, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, what would you do? Like, openly calling for him to assassinate a president if he doesn't do what he wants. Like, that is kind of, I think, carefully paints why there is so much fear when it comes to Israel in the political world and in the social world. People don't want to stand up and say anything because they're not playing around. They will ruin your effing life, okay? I lived this last year. Oh, maybe you think Israel is doing something wrong. We're coming for your job. We're coming for your finances. We're coming for that tour in Australia. You won't be able to move, Candace.
She's not anti-Semitic. She's calling them out. Y'all can't do that. Well, she's anti-Semitic. Like, y'all can't do that. She's calling out. She's putting logic right in front of your face, and you have to, like, figure. You gotta make a decision for yourself. You shouldn't blindly believe another country that's not yours. Like, you have to, like, use deductive reasoning here. Like, what is going on? Why are there so many wars? Who's controlling all of this? Why is the media not talking? You know, and she's able to figure out, like, what's going on, and she's putting it, like, in your face, and people are mad. And I get it. Like, when you, like, even with sports teams, you know, people riding with the Lakers, and you say something about the Lakers people don't like, and you know what I mean? Like, they get, like, super, you know, wanting to fight and everything. You know, the same thing, like, with religions and stuff. It's like, these are taboo subjects people don't want to talk about because they're afraid of the backlash. Candace Owens don't care what you say about her on the internet. She understands the algorithm. You say anything bad about her, it's going to help her just to like if you say anything good about her. But she's going to say her truth.
You can't even go to Australia because we're running it. Yeah, that was the Zionist lobby of Australia that did that because oh my God, the horror. How you can't have a platform anymore if you stand against us. So yeah, guys, this is kind of been a running theme. And by the way, that publisher, you'll be pleased to know the Secret Service looked into him, but obviously nothing happened because you can just kind of publish these things, not expect there to be any consequences when you make a laced threat on a president's life, and you've kind of maybe done that before. Right now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, by the way, is catching heat because she just tweeted, Scout, I think you could pull this up live, but like she just tweeted that Israel killed JFK. And they're like, oh, she's gone insane. No, that didn't happen. He was fighting with Israel's prime minister, and he wanted AIPAC to register under the FARA Act as a foreign agency so we could see what money they're moving into the United States for influence. But it was just convenient for Israel that JFK got shot. It was just convenient, you guys. Totally convenient. It was convenient for Israel, by the way, when the towers went down. And like everyone who talks about those dancing Israelis are just crazy conspiracy theorists. What would you do? What should Bibi Netanyahu do? Yeah, those are the kind of scenarios that run through people's minds. And add that on top of a blackmail ring, which we still are never going to see the files for, Jeffrey Epstein. And they have got DC on.
Y'all remember Pam Bondi kept saying she was going to release the files. She never released the files. And she's holding them to what they've been saying. And she's Republican. No?
Lock. And so you always know the marker of who's actually not beholden to them because it's who is being attacked the hardest. And it has been insane to see over the last couple of months the attacks that are being thrown at me and Tucker Carlson, Ian Carroll, and Dave Smith, who's Jewish and just like has a conscience like everybody else does, and is like, this isn't okay. And the ADL, which has been behind a lot of this, remember they tried to fund the report. Jordan Peterson was funded by the ADL ultimately. The Christ is King report. People that are saying Christ is King are radical. No, we're just not controlled by the Zionist lobby, and we're not going to stop saying Christ is King. Because anybody that's not controlled by Zionists are now being called radicals, and now they've moved on to pretending that we're funded by Qatar. I have told you guys 1,000 times, I am not funded by any foreign entity. Hand on the Bible. I would never, I mean, that is so absolutely ridiculous. But now people are alleging it. And the ADL spokesperson, Jonathan Greenblatt, was on MSNBC this morning, again naming me and Tucker Carlson. And this gets even better. Steve Bannon, they're saying. Steve Bannon is now a part of the woke right. Take a listen.
And I have a question. As a Jew myself who is very involved with Reform Judaism and goes to synagogue and is committed to Judaism, is there space to criticize Netanyahu without criticizing the other Jews? Is there a space
She's so scared.
And I'm wondering if you can speak about that, because I think that's a real, I don't know necessarily that Netanyahu has the backing of many Israelis, because we see a lot of Israelis are maybe not so happy with some of how he operates. And I'm wondering if you could talk about that, because that's a real disconnect that a lot of us have.
So now is a Jewish person anti-Semitic because they're questioning Netanyahu. You see how she just put that on the table? Yo, she's smart, bro.
So there's a few things to unpack here. So first of all, I'm definitely not an expert in Israeli politics. And I know that his approval numbers were quite low before and then immediately after October the 7th. Yeah. But from what I understand, Molly, they're quite high now. Israelis of both sides of the spectrum, people like Ehud Barak, who's certainly not a fan of Bibi, or Ehud Olmert, not a fan of Bibi, have said very clearly, and even the way he's doing the war in Gaza, said very clearly we needed to deal with Iran, and they're appreciating that. So I'm seeing that the Israeli public is very positive on this latest round, because Iran keeps saying Israel's a cancer, Israel's a tumor, we want to destroy it. Now that being said, there is a lot of space to criticize policies of the Israeli government, the way they're prosecuting the war in Gaza, the way the prime minister has pushed for judicial reform. Like, there's lots of ways to criticize the Israeli state and not to demonize Israelis. Yeah, to take on policies of the country without delegitimizing it or questioning its existence. So look, ADL does that, lots of American Jews do that, but in this moment, what I'm focused on, really, are how the fringes, like the woke right, the Tucker Carlsons, the Steve Bannons, the Candace Owens, and the sort of radical left, the Hassan Pikers, and people like Mehdi Hassan, unfortunately, Max Blumenthal, have been fomenting anti-Semitism, blaming this war on the Jews or the Zionists or the neocons. And I think that kind of classic anti-Semitism I find very troubling.
Oh, it's so troubling. You know what's going to be troubling when people actually learn about the history of the ADL and how it was like funded, like it started from gangs that were going around threatening people, and then obviously learning that like all you have to do is call something anti-Semitism and nobody can look at what you're actually doing. Yeah, I know the history of the ADL. You guys are actually thugs, is what you are. And you're smear merchants. That's how you deal in smears. And so
somebody said they're scared of her. Yeah, they are. They are. That's why they try to attack her. And she ends up using their own words against them.
Going after the people that you can't control. So the second that you hear the ADL come out and start naming people, you pretty much should know that you can trust the people that they are naming are not being funded by them. Like I said, all roads lead back to the ADL. So now we know why there's been this weird proliferation of the term woke right from people that are radically pro-Israel and that are infiltrating the MAGA movement and trying.
Y'all know what we about to watch.
We basically have two countries.
Prominent conservatives very different takes on this vexed debate at various different stages yesterday, including as news of Iranian retaliation was breaking. Candace, welcome back to Uncensored.
Thank you. It's good to be back, just in time for World War III.
Well, yes, but before we get there, how is motherhood treating you?
Motherhood is treating me great. I'm exhausted, as is to be expected with a newborn, but always a blessing.
Well, indeed it is, and I wish you all the very best.
See, it's funny, bro.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's talk about impending World War III, as you put it. You are implacably opposed to what both Israel and now the United States have done here. Why?
Yeah. Because, well, first and foremost, just on the MAGA movement level, Trump came out and he gave us a promise that we were not going to be involved in wars. And I'm going back to 2015. Why did people get so excited about Donald Trump, who was then an unlikely candidate, who was being smeared by the media as being Adolf Hitler? Well, it was because he recognized that the American people were being forgotten while we were giving billions of unaccounted billions, by the way, for these never-ending wars. And so it's one of the earliest reasons that people got behind him and got behind his vision. And so we're opposed to a regime change because America as a country has a lot of problems that need to be fixed here first. It's that simple.
Right, but it's not quite that simple. And I'll explain to you why. Because Donald Trump, I think he's not being inconsistent in the sense that in his first term, he wasn't a pacifist. He killed General Soleimani, he killed Baghdadi, the head of ISIS, and went after them ferociously. He attacked Syria when they killed American troops. He dropped a massive bomb in Afghanistan. It wasn't like he never deployed the American military. And again, here, what he would argue, and has been arguing, is he's not declared war on anybody. What he's done is very specifically target Iran's nuclear capability because of latest reports coming out, which said they had taken the enrichment of their uranium stocks from 3.5% to 60%. And that therefore the leap to weaponization was moving at a pace that couldn't be tolerated. I gotta say, I kind of agree. Now, if he suddenly commits, troops on the ground, then that becomes a different thing altogether. But even when Trump talked about regime change, I think he meant from within, as we saw in Syria in December, where the people themselves rise up. And if that was to happen, why would that be a bad thing?
Okay, so you're asking a lot of questions here. So first and foremost, the idea that you have to formally declare war on like a piece of paper in order for war to happen is a little bit ridiculous. I mean, he dropped bombs. He dropped bombs in Iran. So yes, we are a part of this war, whether we like it or not. Iran is now speaking and saying that they're going to shut down the Hormuz Straits. There's going to be impact on oil.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that when the main victim of doing that would be Iran? I mean, 50% of China, of the traffic of stuff through there is for China, which is one of their allies.
Don't care, not my business. The point that I'm making here is that to make the assumption that you can just drop bombs on a country and then say, well, you know what, we didn't formally declare war, is patently ridiculous. I think that is just patently ridiculous.
What about when he killed General Soleimani, one of Iran's top military commanders?
Sure, an assassination, a strike, and that, of course, came with some risk. It's a little bit different to be flying out B-6 bombers in the middle of the night and dropping bombs at the behest of Bibi Netanyahu, which brings me to the second point. The reason that America wants a regime change in Iran is because Bibi Netanyahu is demanding it. And that answers the question as to why there is this split in the MAGA movement. What we are seeing right now is the infiltration of Israel first people, the neocons, people who have always wanted never-ending wars, and the people who have recognized that following Israel's foreign policy initiatives has led to America being on the decline. And so that's where I stand. I am with the MAGA people who grew up, I call us generation 9/11.
So the MAGA movement, like we've been saying, is divided right now. It's people on her side and people on Trump's side. Some people want to just completely support Israel, like, I don't understand the whole Israel thing. I think they're big bullies. It's my opinion.
Who were told that America was going to be rendered safer, cleaner. All we had to do was agree to go to, well, ironically, war with Iraq because of weapons of mass destruction. It's all of the same rhetoric dating back to 9/11, all of the same tactics of trying to smear people who are against this war as supporting jihadists. It is not my business to affect a regime change in Iran. It's simply not our business. It doesn't impact us.
Somebody said oldest trick in the book.
One way or the other. And we also are completely done with the idea that with this decades-long idea that we're.
How does she not know what she's talking about? Like, what are you saying? Like, what? I mean, if you can say she don't know what she's talking about and you can substantiate it in the comment section, I'll read it. But I don't see what she's confused about here.
doing it to spread democracy because we believe in international liberalism. There was no imminent threat to the United States when Trump made this decision to do what Bibi wanted. And I want to be clear here. This was not Trump's decision. It was Bibi Netanyahu's decision. And that is the reason that he did it.
The flip side of it, they can say, well, if Iran because this is what we're not talking about today, right? So Iran had 3.5% enriched uranium, right? That's what they were allowed to have. They've got 60% now of enriched uranium, and they're saying that they're not trying to build a bomb. You only need 90% of enriched uranium to create a nuclear weapon. So if they have 60% and they're getting closer to 90%, you see how that conflict just sparked off between Iran and Israel. I think it was Israel's fault. That's my opinion. But you see how quick like stuff like that can happen? You know, just imagine if nuclear warheads were detonated. You know, that could be bad. You know, the global fallout from all of that, like, that could be real bad. So, you know, the flip side of it is that we do not want Iran having a nuclear weapon. The other side of it is I don't think Israel need to be having no nuclear weapon. Look what Israel just did. Look what they just did. Anybody that they don't like, they bully. Like, no, they don't need no nuclear weapon, bro.
We're very aware that Israel is dictating our foreign policy, and we would now like that to stop.
Okay, but you wouldn't disagree, presumably, that Iran has been the main sponsor of terrorism in the Middle East through the Houthis, through Hezbollah, through Hamas. I mean, that's widely accepted and recognized. They've done
it widely accepted. No, that's just kind of...
Really? You don't think they have?
Has been a terrorist state. Okay, Israel right now is imparting a genocide and a Holocaust on the Gazan people. So I'm really over this idea like somehow Israel has the moral high ground and we have to get behind them.
I didn't say that.
We've got to go after the bad guys.
I wasn't saying that.
But we have.
Oh, hang on. Look, we can come to Gaza where I think we'll reach agreement about what Israel's government's been doing there in the last few months.
But it's relevant. If you're going to call Iranians terrorists, if they right now had an open concentration camp where they were mass killing their own people, we would all be saying this is ridiculous. So it's rich to me that people are concerned about Iran having nukes. But I'm concerned about Israel, who won't even admit that they have nukes, having nukes, while at the same time they are executing a genocide and a Holocaust in Gaza that the world is watching. So who's the bigger terrorist is the question today. I would say as an American that if we're going to get behind a regime change, it should be in Israel first. So that would be my position. I think the position of a lot of people who are waking up to the fact that Zionism has brought us nothing but grief in America. Can you name one positive thing that Zionists have contributed to America? That us fighting these perpetual wars on behalf of Zionism has contributed to America?
But can you also recognize that Israel, placed where it is as a tiny thumbprint in the middle of a region where you have massive countries full of a lot of people that want to wish them harm, and in the case of the terror groups like Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, actually want to get rid of Israel and all Israelis altogether, can you accept that if you have a huge nation like Iran with 90 million people, and they are facilitating the terror groups to that purpose, that Iran has to defend itself? Now, I would not disagree with you about what has been going on in Gaza in the last few months. I've been very vocal in my criticism of that. Nor do I disagree, by the way, that it wouldn't help Israel if they did have regime change and Netanyahu wasn't prime minister anymore. So on those points, I think we have agreement. But I come back to the fact that the reason Trump has done this, I think, is that he has for a long time said Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb. I think he's absolutely right to believe that would be a pretty terrifying escalation of the power of a country that's been so wedded to terrorism in the region. And I think he took the action for that reason. So I don't really agree that he's only doing it because Bibi Netanyahu wants him to go along and do it. I think he's doing it because he believes it's in America's strategic interest that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. Enough about 9 to 5. What about those two?
Trying to tear it apart. It's ridiculous. It is. I mean, it's so ridiculous. And I want to say this. One of you guys sent me an email last night because I think many of you who sent other emails.
Yeah, I think she was right. You know, he got to go to the, he's got sponsors and stuff like that. Let's go back to it.
No
Yeah,
one
it is.
can.
It is not in America's strategic interest. There was no imminent threat. He could have taken this to Congress, and he could have allowed the people's representatives to vote on whether or not
But nobody does
it was
that.
in the American
But
people.
hang on. No president in living memory has, with almost zero exceptions, has bothered to get congressional pre-approval for military strikes. We know that. You know that.
Yeah, we know that, and that's not
Obama
okay.
was the
By
big.
the way, that's not okay.
Obama
That's
did
not an
more
argument.
strikes than anybody, right?
Yes,
I mean, Obama never asked anybody for any
I'm not an Obama
permission.
supporter. Yeah, that doesn't make it okay. By the way, like that argument, just so we're clear, saying, well, we've been doing it wrong forever, so we should just keep doing it wrong, is not an argument that's right.
I don't disagree with you about that.
Okay, so I disagree with Obama doing it. I disagree with Trump doing
fair
it.
enough.
And especially when what we're talking about is what could rise to be a nuclear war, right? We should have done things the right way. And he had indicated that he was going to wait 2 weeks, and then he didn't wait 2 weeks because Bibi Netanyahu, at least according to the Israeli press, if you believe it, said, we're not waiting 2 weeks, we want this done immediately. But I will say, you are correct. He's not just doing this because Bibi Netanyahu demands it. He's also doing it because Miriam Adelson demands it. He took $100 million from Miriam Adelson. It was very clear what she wanted. She was clear that she wanted to annex the West Bank. So there was an imperialist plan that was put into place. And unfortunately, when you do a deal with the devil, you're going to have to eventually deliver the pound of flesh. And that is what Trump is doing, in my opinion. And more evidence of that is the fact when he tweeted that there could be a Trump hotel in Gaza. I mean, that was truly, in my opinion, the most inhumane thing he's ever tweeted.
Well, I think it was pretty clear I think what he was doing there was pretty clear. He's saying he wants a better life for Palestinian people, a life where they have beaches,
well, when you
and they
pair
have
that
hotels,
with Jared
and they have golf
Kushner
courses.
and Jared Kushner's private equity firm and their ties to what's happening in Israel, and Jared Kushner being on camera shortly after October 7th saying, wow, that property could be worth a lot of money, it makes me a little bit uncomfortable. It makes Americans a little bit uncomfortable. Now, you've asked me to come onto your show to explain to you how the now very fractured MAGA movement is feeling, and I'm telling you that, right?
No, it's really. I find the split in the conservative movement in America genuinely fascinating because it really is a genuine schism now.
Yeah, there's a genuine schism, and it's only going one direction. And by the way, we shouldn't even call this a schism because trying to dress this up and delude us into believing that the MAGA movement is what has Meghan McCain cheering.
She's cooking you right now, Piers Morgan.
John Bolton cheering, has Mark Levin cheering. The literal faces of the Never Trump movement are saying, this is real MAGA. Yeah, we're not going to be that delusional.
You're on the same side as Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez. How do you feel about that?
You're asking about the MAGA movement. The MAGA movement has always been a movement that explicitly did not want to keep involving our sons and daughters in the Middle East. So we have not changed that position. If AOC was always anti-war, then she should have thrown on a red hat in 2020 and in 2015 and joined the MAGA movement. That would have been fantastic.
But are you saying America should never use any military action?
You're on the same side as Greta Thunberg when it comes to the Palestinians being
but are you saying,
murdered
Candace,
every day.
are you saying,
I am. I'm aligned.
Okay, but are you saying that America should never use any military action then?
No. I'm not saying America can never use any military action. In fact, what I said earlier was I could get behind a regime change in Israel because I think it would fix a lot of issues that are happening and that has been happening to America over time. Like I said,
why
America
wouldn't you want it in Iran? I mean, I'm reading an Amnesty International report from 2024.
Because Iran is not negatively impacting. I'm answering your question because Iran's regime is not negatively impacting America on a day-to-day basis.
When the leader of Iran says death to America, why doesn't that concern you?
That's a chant. And by the way, I want to be very clear. Why are they chanting death to America? Why are they chanting that? That's kind of a random thing. Like, I don't wake up one day and go like,
dead?
But why are they specifically chanting as opposed to saying, I don't know, death to China or death to Russia? What is it specifically about America?
Well, they say death to America, death to Israel, death to the United Kingdom, actually.
Oh, okay.
Death to pretty much anyone that wants to stand up to them.
Could have had something to do with our actions in the Middle East is why I'm saying that we need a change in foreign policy. And maybe it has something to do with just like killing 1 million Iraqi civilians, okay, because Bibi Netanyahu got on a congressional stage and said there are weapons of mass destruction, and we took that to the bank, and there actually were no weapons of mass destruction, so we just killed 1 million. It could have something, I could be crazy, it could have something to do with our actions in the Middle East. The fact that we have 2,000 troops stationed in Syria right now under the guise of saying that we're fighting ISIS, while at the same time we know that Bibi Netanyahu funded the Al-Qaeda adjacent front because he wanted to overthrow Syria, and they again expand their borders, immediately take on territory, and sell us absolute nonsense. We're talking about funding Hamas. Bibi Netanyahu funded Hamas. There's footage of Bibi Netanyahu saying this stuff on camera. So it's just so ridiculous to me to pretend that they're in some predicament, that they may be eradicated soon, which is why they have to keep funding all of these terrorist groups and then pretending that.
Now you see why she's mad. She is absolutely destroying Piers Morgan. And let me get this, like, let me say this. Piers Morgan has to play devil's advocate. Like, he's got to play that in order to get her to talk and stuff like that. Like, if this was one-sided, it would be boring. Piers Morgan knows what he's doing. He's a master at this. But she is definitely laying out her argument as to why she's not rocking with Bibi. And I think it's working.
That they're victims.
So shout out to Piers Morgan for giving her another platform to talk reckless to Netanyahu.
Of terror, when in fact they are people that are imparting it worldwide. You know, I just think that, like I said, Generation 9/11 has grown up, and I think that our eyes are very clear here, and we recognize that our relationship with Israel has become increasingly problematic, and it always was problematic. So I'll again ask the questions, Piers. I'm asking you because we're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Name something positive that our Zionist AIPAC foreign policy has brought to America.
Well, I think the positive side of, if you want an answer about that, is that America has been Israel's steadfast ally because it recognizes as a country that Israel has been under an almost unique, multifaceted threat on its border for a very long time from people that want to destroy it. And you know that you may not see that as a benefit, but Israel has been very supportive to the United States in many ways. Right, so why shouldn't America?
I just want something concrete that has been benefit. Like, we got better.
Do we get like any benefit from Israel rocking with the United States, or Israel benefiting from? You know what I mean? Like, what does Israel really do for us? Like, this is what people don't ask. Like, what do they do? Like, they are just like the homeland of a religion, and like, I mean, what do they do for us? They benefit tremendously by the United States backing them. You think Iran, well, yeah, they got the Iron Dome or whatever, but you see how ineffective that was towards Iran. You think Iran would have went at, Israel, they got the Iron Dome or whatever. You think Israel would have went after Iran if the United States wasn't backing them? Let's keep it real. There's way more benefit for the United States to back them than them backing us. Well, I guess they control the minds of a lot of like religious people. You know, like they, you know, because they can get on the podium and say, oh, well, Trump needs to be impeached. He's not for God. And like, you know, just some emotional stuff. And it can turn people against Trump. They could do that. And they know that. But other than that, like, what can they do? I don't think there's any benefit, really. I think they're using us to their advantage to bully the world. That's what I think.
America in this way. Like, just name something. Gas prices, just something that the average American can relate to.
Well, you're not going to have a correlation between Zionism and gas prices in America. Of course, you're not.
No, I'm just giving you an example. Just tell me one thing that tangible benefits. What your argument here is like, well, you get a pat on the back and you can say that you helped this country, which was formed in 1948 by pretending to be refugees, if you will, and being invited into the homes of Palestinians, the horrific story
they weren't
of what
pretending
happened.
to be refugees. They were people fleeing a Holocaust.
Let's be clear. Let me finish my statement.
What do you mean pretending to be refugees?
Let me finish my statement. When I say pretending to be refugees and being invited into the home, you would think that these people were helpless and were going to be grateful to the people that hosted them. People like Muhammad Hadid, Bella Hadid and Gigi Hadid's father, who was an infant at this time in his mother's arms. She had just given birth. They had invited these refugees because of the goodness of their heart. And then one day they return home and their doors are locked and they are told that if you try to enter, you are going to be shot and killed. That is the reality of how Israel was established as a state. Okay, that is not a stain that you can wipe from history. Most Americans growing up actually believe what happened was that, okay, it was a little messy. That's what happens after wars. Borders get changed. But
somebody said Jesus was from Bethlehem.
least they were given money. I mean, you've lived here for hundreds of years. Here's money for your property. No, that's not what happened. They were forced out of their homes at gunpoint.
Listen,
and it's wrong. So we get to be the nation
pat
on the back. According to you, the thing that America gets. Let me finish. I'm going to let you finish. It's your show. We can. But let me finish. Your argument.
Israel is the Holy Land, man.
Is that what we get to be is that nation that keeps supporting it as they continue to move their borders in this way. Now we're seeing that incursion into Gaza, and we are certainly going to see it by the end of this administration in the West Bank, because like I said.
Linda said, why is she so angry and radical? She's tired of Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi. She's tired of him running our presidents, running our administrations. They make promises to us all the time. She went on a limb she got demonetized. She went out on a limb to support Donald Trump to try to help to get him elected. I think the Kanye West interview really got her demonetized. But they got that all straight now. She's remonetized. But she went out on a limb, and she had all of her y'all remember when she did the Kamala Harris series, and she was revealing like who Kamala Harris' grandmother really was, like this white lady? And then she revealed that Kamala Harris, the lady that was in the book, Kamala Harris's book, wasn't really her grandmother. That was actually the help of the house. The black lady that was in Kamala Harris's book that they were trying to mark as her grandmother. That wasn't really what it was. Like, she was going in. She was pulling up birth records, birth certificates. She did all of that. Like, she went crazy to try to help to get Trump elected. So yeah, if she feels like we have an issue to where, we help get you elected and you sitting up supporting Benjamin Netanyahu, who's a warmonger, a warlord that's trying to stay in power to keep his country under, you know what I mean? To where they can't get him out. Like, no, like I have a problem. This is why she's pissed. Like, no, like, stop using this, what's his name? Benjamin Netanyahu. Stop using martial law to stay in power, bro. Like, no. Like, you are a war hawk. You just like Liz Cheney. And then you got Trump, who was so against Liz Cheney, but then supporting the war hawk. So she would, she like, no, we not rocking with this. And Trump, I think, is getting the message. His base, he's starting to get back with his base for peace,
That is
so yeah, she's got a really good reason to be mad.
Why Miriam Adelson gave Trump $100 million.
Look, as you know, I oppose what the Israeli government is doing now in Gaza. I oppose the expansion of settlements on the West Bank. I think all of that is completely wrong. I do think America supports Israel because it remains the only democracy in the Middle East, and that's an important...
They're not a democracy. Stop saying that, Pierce. You know better.
Well, they have elections.
It's not a democracy.
Do y'all think that Israel is a democracy? Do y'all, if it was democracy, you think Netanyahu would be running it? Like, come on, bro. Pierce be I rock with Pierce. Pierce be capping, bro. I think he just be saying things just to test knowledge, to see if they're gonna respond, correctly. And if they don't, just let it fly. But I think he knows that it's no real democracy in Israel.
They have elections.
But who gets to vote in those elections? Do the Gazans get to vote in that election?
Well, the Israelis get to vote in Israel, obviously.
Okay, so you're basically saying America had a democracy, we had
Israel ceded.
No, don't cut her off. Don't cut her off, Pierce. Don't do that. He got somebody in his ear like, cut her off. She waking people up. Like, don't cut her off, bro. Let her finish what she's saying.
Black Americans couldn't, Black Americans
Israel
couldn't
moved
vote.
out. It is indisputable that Israel moved out. I think all of that is completely wrong. I do think America supports Israel because it remains the only democracy in the Middle East, and that's an important...
They're not a democracy. Stop saying that, Pierce. You know better.
Well, they have elections.
It's not a democracy.
They have elections.
But who gets to vote in those elections? Do the Gazans get to vote in that election?
Well, the Israelis get to vote in Israel, obviously.
Okay, so you're...
That's like saying, oh, we've got... a democracy in America, but only white people can vote, black people can't. like what kind of democracy they got in Israel, bro? And I don't want you to cut her off here.
Basically saying America had a democracy, we had
Israel
laws
ceded
that said Black Americans
Hang on.
couldn't, Black
Israel,
Americans
Israel
couldn't
moved
vote.
out. It is indisputable that Israel moved out of Gaza in 2005, and there was an election, and Hamas got elected. Right now,
Yeah,
I
and
agree
that's
with,
because
I agree with you. I agree with
but
listen,
Bibi
hang on.
Netanyahu was on camera saying that
agree
they were
with you.
going to fund Hamas into power.
Listen,
so they orchestrated
Candace,
that because if they wanted to create
Candace,
the
I haven't
solution.
finished.
Yeah, somebody in the comment
I agree
section
with you
just-
that
hold on. Somebody in the comment section said Benjamin Netanyahu's been around since the 90s. But there's a democracy. Why would that be happening?
Who wanted to cause a split between the Palestinian
With a
Authority
warlord.
and Hamas. It was divide and rule. It was a catastrophically bad strategy, and it led to what happened on October the 7th over a 20-year period. There's no doubt it was a terrible thing that Netanyahu did. One of the many reasons I think he should go. But there was no doubt that the Israelis pulled out of Gaza and allowed them to have elections, and they elected Hamas, and the rest has been disastrous history.
Because the Israelis funded, because Bibi Netanyahu, they funded
I don't
Hamas
disagree
into
with you,
power.
but they still had elections.
So it's like we rigged an election, but look what the election results show is that they wanted to put Hamas into power. And so when we talk about who is funding these terrorists, the answer is Bibi Netanyahu. And I don't want to get into his corruption trials, but every single person watching this right now should go pursue the documentary, The Bibi Files, because it is absolutely stunning to understand.
I believe one of the reasons. I believe one of the reasons.
Let me answer the question because
So like this is the problem with me. Like this is why I kind of agree with her, right? If this is a so-called democracy, Benjamin Netanyahu, it says have previously held the office from 1996 to 1999. So he's been in office like since Pac was alive, right? Since Tupac was alive, this dude has been in office, doing all of these mistakes and everything. It says Benjamin Bibi Netanyahu is an Israeli politician and Democrat who has served as the Prime Minister of Israel since 2022, having previously held the office from 1996 to 1999 and from 2009 to 2021. But you want me to believe, Pierce Morgan, that that's a real democracy? This is crazy.
you still haven't given me anything other than like you guys get a pat on the back for supporting this created nation in the Middle East.
Tupac was alive back when Netanyahu took office.
Also just like to say all of the bad things that we have gotten because of our continued relation.
I mean, the year he passed. Hit the like button. Shout out to Froggy Meggsy in the chat. I see you.
With Israel. First and foremost, the open borders. And you can relate to this. People in the UK, they just can't seem to connect the dots.
All right.
Oh my gosh, what's happening
let me get
here?
a word in.
But I want to say this. Okay, we don't understand where all these refugees are coming from. Oh my God, where are all these?
Exactly. Hold on. Dude drop in the comment section says since we were kids, he was in power. It's crazy.
Refugees coming from? Who's funding them coming over into these borders? Well, this is what you get when you keep supporting these nonstop wars, when you keep bombing where these people live. And it's not even just a conspiracy, by the way. If you're like, oh, well,
actually,
the
you're wrong about this because the vast majority
of
of people coming into the UK illegally are not coming from war-torn countries in the Middle East. They're actually economic migrants.
Okay.
So that's not true.
Okay, but let's connect that. When you say economic migrants, are we talking about like
people who literally want to come
Gaddafi was
to the
heading up
UK for a better
Libya,
life?
and when Gaddafi was heading up Libya and the country was on the up and up, and he was working with the United Nations, and then all of a sudden he warned that if you collapse Libya and turn it into a place where refugees are escaping, that this is going to be your problem, Europe. He warned that. So then it actually happened. And now we're just calling them economic migrants. We're going to pretend
I'm not
that we had
talking
nothing
about
to
people
do.
coming from Libya.
Okay, where are you speaking about?
Well, for example, I think it was last year, a third of all the people who came into the UK on the border on the small boats illegally, it turned out were young economic migrant males from Albania, which last time I checked, we hadn't invaded. So look, let me pull you back to something you said, which has caused a lot of controversy, which is this issue of dishonorable discharge. Let's take a listen.
I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares? Who cares? Why should you go die in a foreign land? You now have the benefit of 2020. You can see, think about those men and those women who died because they were pitched that they were serving their country because there were weapons of mass destruction, right? They were serving their country because the Taliban, they were serving their country, whatever, and these people gave up their lives. And ask yourselves, for what? And the answer to that question is for the elites. They're like toy soldiers.
When you said that, were you aware of the repercussions if people dishonorably discharged?
So just to put this into context, this is like the Q&A, live Q&A portion at the end of my show. And being facetious, but also being completely honest, that they should begin to consider, and that was somebody asking, what should we do? Like, should we leave the military because they also
do you regret
are recognizing
that?
No, I don't regret saying that. I don't.
But you know the repercussions if you do discharge
about,
dishonorably.
Okay, well, I would imagine that the people that are in the military who were going to, if they were going to listen to my podcast and they were going to dishonorably discharge, that they would know the consequences. So it's completely ridiculous. And again, we see this over and over again where people can't answer the broader questions. They try to suddenly peg in, well, you said this one thing. No. The broader conversation that we are having.
It's not a small thing.
No, let me finish. Let me finish.
You're basically you're encouraging U.S. servicemen and women to dishonorably discharge.
You play a clip. You play a clip, and I'm trying to answer it. You know, you can't do that. You ask it.
Did she tell people to dishonorably discharge? I think she was telling people not to go to the military. Hold on, let's go back.
They also
do you regret
recognizing that? No, I don't regret saying that. I don't.
But you know there a lot of controversy, which is this issue of dishonorable discharge. Let's take a listen.
I do believe that if war in Iran is on the agenda, and that appears so, get dishonorably discharged. Who cares?
Oh, man. He got her. He got her. I got to hear her explain this.
Who cares? Why should you go die in a foreign land? You now have the benefit.
I mean, what's honorable about being in the military, going to a foreign land, and giving your life up because Netanyahu's a big crybaby? You know what I mean? Like, I mean, she's saying, I mean, it's hard to disagree with her on this, bro. But, you know, I want to hear her explain this because he got her on that.
2020. You can see, think about those men and those women who died because they were pitched that they were serving their country because there were weapons of mass destruction, right? They were serving their country because the Taliban, they were serving their country, whatever, and these people gave up.
If you dishonorably discharge, bro, you lose a lot of benefits. Don't you, like, you lose like the GI Bill? You lose like mad stuff if you get dishonorably discharged.
Their lives, and ask yourselves, for what? And the answer to that question is for the elites. They're like toy soldiers.
When you said that, were you aware of the repercussions if people dishonorably discharged?
So just to put this into context, this is like the Q&A, live Q&A portion at the end of my show. And being facetious, but also being completely honest, that they should begin to consider, and that was somebody asking, what should we do? Like, should we leave the military because they also
do you regret
are recognizing that? No, I don't regret saying that. I don't.
But you know the repercussions if you do discharge dishonorably.
Okay, well, I would imagine that the people that are in the military who were going to, if they were going to listen to my podcast and they were going to dishonorably discharge, that they would know the consequences. So it's completely ridiculous. And again, we see this over and over again where people can't answer the broader questions. They try to suddenly peg in, well, you said this one thing. No. The broader conversation that we are having.
It's not a small thing.
No, let me finish. Let me finish.
You're basically you're encouraging U.S. servicemen and women to dishonorably discharge.
You play a clip. You play a clip, and I'm trying to answer it. You know, you can't do that. You ask a question.
Well, you're trying to downplay it,
and I'm responding. No, I am. No, you're trying to upplay it. Is what the issue is. This is exactly.
I'm just repeating what you said.
You trying to upplay it, yo? I've never heard nobody say that before, yo. That's crazy.
You're playing what I said, and I'm responding to it and telling you that the broader piece of that conversation, when you have troops that are now asking that question, is they are recognizing that America is in steep decline, that our military comes back and they are treated like dirt. That a lot of these men, and we're talking about decades, white American males come back and they're told that they're racist and they're treated like crap, that they're white supremacists, that they have a different vision for this country. So why are they dying in these overseas wars for Bibi Netanyahu? Okay, and let me again try to answer that question that I asked you at the beginning, which is, what has Zionism won America?
I'm not
what
keep
have
coming
these
back
never
to the same thing.
No, let me finish. Why won't you let me answer that? Why won't you
You
let me
can answer if you
actually
want
say what
to.
people are recognizing? You come back and there are open borders and you're told that you are racist, okay? You come back and you're told that you are racist if you don't want open borders. Meanwhile, you're sent overseas to defend Israel's borders. It's a nonsense. And who's funding these open borders? According to Barry Weiss, and I quote, Barry Weiss said this verbatim, the Jewish connection to the refugee is not a conspiracy. That's something that we are very proud of. And she was referencing the organization HIAS, and she says it explicitly, which she said what was started by them in the 1880s,
She's dangerous. She is very dangerous because she knows a lot. She could back up and substantiate like her claims. This is what they're scared of. Hey, y'all Republicans better chill. If she flips and goes left, I don't think she will. But y'all do not want to lose her, bro. This girl don't play. She is very dangerous.
Includes people,
and her platform is insane. Bro, I got 3,200 people in here watching right now. Not because of me, because of her. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, her fan base is insane. So, hey, Republicans, y'all better listen to her.
immigrants that have come in, like Sergey Brin, they are still the organization that is operating at our border right now, okay? That is problematic, that we have open borders while we continually and routinely are told that we have to defend somebody else's borders, okay? And again, these never-ending...
It was 3,200 a minute ago. I got the screenshot. Hold on. You want to play games with me? You want to talk correctless? Hold on. It's 2,700. Look. Candace, this is what y'all on right now. 3,200 people. See if I can show you. 3,200 people was just in here because of her.
Wars in the Middle East at the behest of Israel. Bibi Netanyahu
Now
is
what? Now what? Talk crazy now. Now what? Talk crazy now. Yeah, I got the receipts. Thug life. Thug life, Candace Owens. Thug life. Shout out to Candace Owens. Give her credit. Stop playing with her.
One that called for Americans to invade Iraq, Libya, Syria, Afghanistan, and now Iran, and we've done it. We're told Israel can defend itself. Okay, but why do we have currently 2,000 troops that are in Syria under the guise of fighting ISIS? And like I said, we know Israel themselves fund terror-adjacent militants like they did to overthrow Assad. And we're done with the BS of, okay, well, they weren't really involved, Israel, in Afghanistan, because even when we fight those never-ending wars, Israel wins. Everybody knows that our boys were out there in Afghanistan guarding poppy fields, okay? And do you know what happened after we allegedly, quote unquote, lost in Afghanistan? What happened to all those poppy fields, those poppy flowers that our military was guarding? Well, the opioid crisis hit America via the Sackler family, who quite literally built the School of Medicine at Tel Aviv University.
Wow.
So we're just done, okay? And there's no way that we're gonna go backwards. We're not going to allow you guys to emotionally condition us to go, oh, well, we gotta protect Israel because of the Holocaust. It is over. They're imparting a Holocaust. America would like off this crazy train.
Okay, for the benefit of viewers who don't know what I was talking about, under the Uniform Code of Military Justice, Article 9.
All right, y'all. Can you know she's a lawyer. Can you imagine being in court going against her? She was probably cooking people in a courtroom. Yo, if she the prosecutor and I'm the defense attorney and she start talking like that, I'll be like, look, bro, hold on. We gotta settle this case. You hear her up here wilding, like
Dishonorable discharge can result in forfeiture of all pay and allowances up to 5 years confinement, which is a pretty heavy penalty to pay.
Yeah, I'd want my kids to go to jail before they fought for Israel. I'll say that honestly.
Okay.
I would. I have 3 sons, and I'm going to be honest with you, Pierce. I'm glad you told me that consequence. I'd take that consequence any day to them being sent back over in a coffin because they died for Israel. So.
Okay, but I think the one thing you're missing. Look, I come from a big military family. a lot of military in my family, and a lot of people fighting wars on behalf of the United States are not doing it because they think Bibi Netanyahu wants them to.
What do you mean she's not a lawyer? She's got an active law license. Like, what are you talking about?
They're doing it because
some of them do that, and they write into my show and I answer the question.
But many of them won't, and they might be offended by you suggesting that's the only reason they're doing it.
And they can watch your show, and they can be offended all they want, but I think it's more offensive the way that our military is treated, the veterans are treated, and the gaslighting that takes place when we're told that we have to defend everybody's borders, but
I actually think America treats its veterans better than almost any country in the world.
I mean, this has always been an open conversation, and I'm just saying that.
Or whatever.
That if my boys were being drafted to fight.
Maybe they lying.
This war in Iran, I would be like, you know what, honey, take the other option. And that's not because it's cowardice. It's because when you sign up for the military.
Okay, but I would say that the pilots.
Hold on, let me show y'all this. Candace Owens, law license active. So I don't know.
You are pledging that you are doing something that is going to better your country.
Candace,
and like I said, our country has been in steep decline since we have been part of this foreign policy, which is just whatever Israel wants.
Okay, but you made that point. But what I would say to you is the only people so far that have been involved from the American military were the extraordinarily.
Oh, okay. So Dana says she is a lawyer. She just didn't practice. Okay.
Courageous.
Because I'm looking her up. It says that she's got a active law license.
Skillful pilots who flew these B-2 bombers and attacked the nuclear sites and got back safely. So there's been no troops on the ground committed at all, no declaration of war by the United States. We can listen, I don't disagree with you. You bomb somewhere, you probably are at war with them. But there was no official declaration of war, just as Trump, when he took out Soleimani and Baghdadi and he attacked Syria and so on, he didn't declare war on those places. And actually it turned out that the apocalyptic warnings of those actions never materialized. So we shall see. I can't let you go without asking. Let me ask you just quickly about the Tucker-Ted Cruz debate. What did you make of that?
Fantastic.
Yeah, now you see the comment section is changing. Steph says she is so informative. Yeah, and before we play this, people were saying, "Oh, she's uninformed. She don't know what she's talking about. She's crazy. She's delusional." That was the narrative that was going on, like within an hour of me playing this. And then we start playing this, and the tune is changing. People are like, "Oh, she know what she's talking about." Yeah, she know what she's talking about.
It is finally the debate that needed to happen in America, because a part of this nonstop policy is this belief, as you said, Ted Cruz, that if we just do whatever Israel wants, that God's going to bless you. And it's quite ironic because it comes from Protestants, and their normal argument is that the reason why we had to have this fracture in the church was because of indulgences. Well, there's nothing more indulgent than I'm going to be blessed if I just do whatever Israel says. And so because we are finally having that spiritual conversation, which is more important, I suspect there's going to be major changes in the United States going forward. And that is why you're seeing this fracture in the base already.
Tucker, according to Donald Trump, Tucker rang Trump to apologize for some of the more strident rhetoric he's used against him recently.
But it says Owens pursued an undergraduate degree in journalism at the University of Rhode Island. She dropped out after her junior year because of an issue with her student loan. Afterwards, she worked as an intern for Vogue magazine in New York.
Are you done with Donald Trump, or could you see a way that you would end up perhaps voting for him? He can't run again, obviously, but would you support him publicly again?
So I want to be clear. I don't regret voting for Donald Trump above Kamala. I think he was the better candidate, certainly a better candidate above Joe Biden. But what I will say is that he's been a chronic disappointment, and I feel embarrassed that I told people to go vote for him because this wasn't going to happen, and it is happening. But I just think that the picture of politics in America is going to look very differently because of his actions. So I don't know where we go from here. I really don't. But this is not the candidate that I voted for.
If it turns out that his instincts were right, that by doing what he did, it brings Iran to the negotiating table and they do a deal on their nuclear plans, would you admit that you were wrong in that circumstance?
Yeah. I will always admit when I'm wrong. Anybody that listens to my podcast knows that. It just so happens to be, especially if I come on to the Piers Morgan show and I make some predictions.
But that could be a different Candace Owens, though. That might not be her. And
it ends up that I'm right. So I'm feeling lucky, but I will of course admit I'm wrong if that is the result.
Candace, always good to have your views on Uncensored. You know that. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
You know who I want to hear? Oh, he got him on Glenn Beck. I want to hear what he got to say about all that.
I mean, look, I'm not going to pick on you for this, but I happen to be the editor. It'll be obvious what I'm saying, but I was editor of the Daily Mirror newspaper, one of the big national papers in the UK, for many years, and I campaigned vociferously on the front page after front page against the Iraq war. And it was particularly contentious in the UK because we were the Labour supporting newspaper and Tony Blair was the Labour Prime Minister. So it was a huge sort of deal over here. And I know that you initially supported the Iraq war, and then afterwards you later accepted that had been a mistake, which, again, is part of your strength, I think.
I think, Piers, you can't silence people when they're wrong, because hopefully they're on the road to becoming right.
Yes.
But you only get that if you have a debate. And I will tell you that I was for Afghanistan. I was a very big, war hawk. Let's go in and just do it. Let's do it. I'm not that way anymore because I've seen the pattern. It doesn't work out. America needs to mind its own business. We can't export what we have. I have
Glenn Beck is thinking like her too.
Hopes for the Middle East. I have hopes for Iran. I pray for the people in Iran. They're a very big danger, but the one thing, again, I go back to Donald Trump. I don't think he's being duped. In 2016, maybe. He has told me he didn't really know what he was up against. He knows what he's up against now. He hates war, hates it. As much as he loves tariffs, he hates war. He has told me eye to eye about how he has redesigned, or he had to rebuild our nuclear arsenal. And in effect,
so that's interesting. So he's against war as well.
So surprised by what you didn't know about World War II, because you got into, I mentioned the Havara Agreement as one thing that I was like, okay, this is something I didn't know. And somebody said,
Eric in the chat said, can I have a chicken sandwich? No, you gonna stay in here until I'm done. Then you're gonna go and get something to eat.
Candace, are you going to speak about the genocide of the Germans, like leading up to that? World War I, World War II. Yeah, I've spoken about that. It's why there's a pretty high bounty on my head, but I'm happy to speak about it again. I'm happy to do it. So maybe let's get into a couple of ads and I'll show you some other hidden history that's just right under your nose. First and foremost, I want to throw it to preborn because June 24th marks 3 years since Roe v. Wade was overturned, but the hard truth is that abortion has not actually gone away. In fact, it's gotten worse. Abortions are at a 10-year high because the fight has moved from the courtroom to a place that's way more dangerous, people's homes, okay? Today, more than 60% of abortions are happening through a pill that women are taking alone. In fear, they don't have any support. It's absolutely horrifying what happens next. Women are delivering their babies that are fully formed into earlier this year thanks to the team over at Patmos. We used Patmos as our most trusted alternative to big hosting because there's so many U.S. data centers, and with them, they are actually U.S. customer service based. Patmos provides us with tremendous value for all of our hosting and web development needs. So discover why businesses save big and get better service if you make the switch as well, like I did to Patmos. You can visit patmos.tech to make the switch today. Again, that is patmos.tech. Okay. Now let's get into forbidden history. Everybody kind of knows why that historian Daryl Cooper went on to Tucker's show and just started delivering other facts about World War II, and suddenly the pro-Israel lobby, the people that we know are like radical pro-Israel, just freaked out. Like you would have thought, if you had just seen their response to it and didn't watch it, that he must have just been sitting down across from Tucker, like demanding like that people reinstall Adolf Hitler from his grave. Like it was nuts. The response was crazy. And you watch it and you're like, what's wrong with this? And you realize that you're not allowed to poke anything about World War II or introduce any alternative facts. And so I should say, if you begin to look into history, will realize that it has always been an information war. That is one thing that, being in this sort of, I would say, mild study, I've definitely read a lot of books over the last couple of years as I try to play catch up with all the things that I didn't know. You will realize that it's always been a publisher's game. You got to control the newspapers. You got to control the textbooks that are being printed in the classroom so that you can control minds. That's it. It is an information war. Okay, so I found that to be, I'm not at all stunned to learn that now that we're moving towards this digital age, that somebody reached out to me, someone that I trust very much, and said, Candace, just want you to know, we're on opposite sides of this thing, but there's money behind this pro-Israel movement. Billionaires and Israeli billionaires reached out, asked so-and-so to make a video that is pro-Israel. And then an influencer reached out and said that people are being offered money to make anti-Candace and anti-Tucker videos, up to $1,000 for a micro-influencer. That's a lot of money. This person has got to have a lot of money, whoever's behind this. And so today we did something because we're so interested, is we put a bounty out, $10,000 for an influencer that got paid, a micro-influencer, don't care if you're micro, you email tips@CandaceOwens.com and show us the concrete email of who paid you to make a video about me and Tucker and to say that we must be funded by Qatar, because that's the distance.
Oh, man. Somebody gonna try to get that money.
Bounty out, $10,000 for an influencer that got paid, a micro-influencer, don't care if you're micro,
and you know, like, I mean, if you guys do like any type of videos on YouTube, TikTok and stuff, my TikTok is starting to get crazy, right? But if you do, you know, you get hit up by people like on a regular basis, like trying to get you to influence certain things. So if they got hit up to say anything negative about Candace Owens and they've got concrete proof, that's an extra 10 grand they can get. Yo, it's interesting, bro.
Email tips@Candace.
Because, you know, like, they be like, yo, can you say this for $1,000, $2,000? And I don't be doing it. You know, like, I don't know why I don't be doing it. They be offering a lot of money. But, like, I mean, if they be offering like $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, but they do have some of them have like NDAs, like where you can't like disclose different things. So it would be hard depending on who is paying the influencers for the influencer to come out against them, you know. But 10 grand.
Owens.com and show us the concrete email of who paid you to make a video about me and Tucker and to say that we must be funded by Qatar, because that's the disinformation campaign that's happening right now. And we'll give you 10K, no questions asked. I don't care if you already made the video. We will not ever reveal your name. You can go on and live your life, okay? Promise that. But getting back to the broader point that I'm making here, which is that this has always been an information war, what I really did that pissed off the ADL and put me on their list, finally, speaking of Jonathan Greenblatt, was I started talking about the German genocide that nobody knows about. Like, and that was, if you watch this documentary, you will never be able to unsee it. You will never be able to unsee the savage piece, okay? Which is that when the Second World War ended, like when the Allies won and we ended a Holocaust, then intentionally we genocided Germans. We allowed Germans to be genocided by some psychopathic Soviets. They took their homes, they took everything. I wonder what they do with their belongings. When you just move people out of their homes and you are behind this ethnic cleansing. And I was horrified. And there's little tidbits in there that are deeply upsetting. Like, for example, that one of the individuals who was literally hosting a camp, this is again after the war, and was mass murdering Germans, and was so sadistic that he would make them stack up onto a
Craig Wilson said, I love you, Candace, but I need that 10,000. Hey, you know, influencers are probably looking at that like, who tried to pay me this month? Let me send this to Candace Owens, email her real quick.
Pyramid while they were naked, so they were crushing one another. And this man, whose name was Solomon Morel, then fled to Israel, and Israel protected him. When they wanted to prosecute that crime of Solomon Morel, I'm pretty sure that's his name, Skylar, I hate to meatloaf you here, but if you could pull up, I think, Solomon Morel, who was running this camp, mass murdering Germans. And then when Poland said, hey, send him back, we'd like to prosecute him for crimes against humanity, Israel said, no, we're going to protect this guy, okay? Now, the German genocide is not something that happened, it's something that they're not allowed to talk about, because then what they did was they also passed speech laws. So still today, to this day in Germany, you can't talk about it. If your family descended from one of these...
She's actually my neighbor. I'm not trying to hit her. She like married and all that, like, you know, but shout out to Candace. I mean, if she jumped in my DMs, I'm not gonna, you know, deny her.
Like, and tons of them did. There were millions, okay? this intentional ethnic cleansing, you can't talk about it, which is why I do, because I'm American and I still have free speech. It did not start just after the war. In fact, if you want to and you are interested in learning more about what you don't know, you should know that calls to genocide the Germans, a war on Anglo-Saxons, began long before that, before World War II. Truly, I trace it to the communists who attempted to overthrow Germany. There was like a movement of communists that tried to overthrow Germany in 1848. These are called the 48ers. And when they were unsuccessful, these 48ers, and they weren't just from Germany, but they were all coordinated. You see here, it says were Europeans who participated and supported the revolutions of 1848 that swept Europe, particularly those that were expelled or emigrated from their native land following those revolutions. Where did they go? They came to America. Skylar, if you scroll down, it will start listing families that came from these 48ers. You've got like, the Pfizer family, the family that started kindergarten, all of these huge publishers and writers, the majority, I mean, they were all in like writing and music and things that really influenced culture, and they had money. These were not like this idea, these were not poor Germans emigrating. They were communists that came from wealthy families who were trying to overthrow the German government, failed, and then came to America and established way too much, way more than I'm comfortable with. And they kept...
Anna said you find her fickle. Jonathan said, how would she know she was born 40 to 50 years after the war? Research. Siren said they be dog whistling to each other and stuff. I don't know what you mean.
Kept up this narrative that they needed to kind of convince Americans to hate these Anglo-Saxons. And I'm going to give you proof. Many of these people did, not all of them, I should say. I wouldn't know. I haven't gone through every single name that came to America to see where.
Jonathan says she's got a massive ego. I don't see that. I mean, I'm not just trying to disagree with you. I don't see that. I think she's just like rattling off like what's been going on. I don't think her ego is in play. Like people who have a massive ego, they start ad hominem attacking and doing all of that. And like she's not really doing that. She's just saying like low key how she feels about a lot of different things.
Where their families are today. But there were even books that were published explicitly calling for a German genocide. Theodor N. Kaufman published this book, Germany Must Perish, right? Do you see this? That he was this businessman and a writer who published Germany Must Perish, calling for the sterilization of the German...
You said black people never respect their own. I respect her. Like, I mean, people in general hate. This is what it is. Like, people are going to hate, like, whatever you do. Any success you get, they're going to hate. But then, like, if you're on the internet, like, people are going to have the opportunity to hate. And you could just easily, like, go online and see somebody live and just post a couple hates, move on to the next live. Like, people do that stuff all the time. I'm not saying that's what that person's doing. Maybe they just feel like she really is like that. But it's a lot of times just hate, man. And she knows the game. She knows how it is. It's not stopping her from having her opinion. So if you want to make everybody happy, you're going to be amused, or you're just going to be like quiet. You're not going to say anything. You'll be one of these quiet people out here walking around, allowing life to happen to them. You're just allowing everything to happen to you. No opinion. And then they going to start, oh, this person's too quiet. This person's slow. This person, like, they'll do anything. So it's just like, if people are going to talk about you anyway, why not have your opinion? Have your platform, make millions of dollars. If they're going to talk about you anyway, it doesn't matter what you do, you are going to be talked about. Right or wrong, good or bad. And she just used everything to her advantage.
People and the redistribution of the German lands. Now hit that. Could you hit Germany Must Perish? Because it's very interesting how they describe this book, as they're like trying to defend it in some weird way. To be clear, this book, people were on board with it. Like it says, Kaufman advocated the mass extermination of the German people through forced sterilization and the territorial dismemberment of Germany after an Allied victory in World War II. Kaufman summarized Germany Must Perish in advertisements in the New York Times and in the New York Post as a dynamic volume outlining a plan for the extinction of Germany and containing a map showing possible dissection and apportionment of its territory. Kaufman defended his plan for the sterilization of Germans in an interview published in 1941 in the issue of the Canadian Jewish Chronicle. It goes on and on, talks about the reception in the United States. Nobody was like, this is wrong. Like, this is like, we shouldn't be doing this. Okay, there was a concerted effort. And then when you learn about Freud, the Freud family who established propaganda in America, the Edward Bernays, you know, one of his influencing campaigns was how to get Americans to hate Anglo-Saxons. And what I find to be problematic is that when you do any of these people's genealogies, it traces you right back to these communists who wanted Anglo-Saxons murdered since the day they tried to overthrow Germany and all of these other nations. Actually, go back to the 48ers. I want to get that right of what other countries were involved in it. If you go back to just the 48ers.
Oh, I see what they're saying in the comments. Said, we need a series called Becoming Bibi. Yo, hey, don't say that because she'll do it. Somebody said, protect this woman and her loved one. She's a gem. And somebody said, as a Zambian who only started following Candace Owens after she was fired from the Daily Wire, let it be known that she doesn't want to end her life in any way. Like, what? Somebody said, even if you never read this, as a German, thank you, Candace Owens, not allowed to talk about these things in Germany, and it's about time that someone does. So this is, and then she actually seen that and she responded to it. I think she responded to it. Let's see. She just loved it. She hearted it. All right.
And seeing where they settled in America, I find to be problematic as well. There's a lot of stuff that's happened. Anyways, we won't be able to get to all of this today. But yeah.
Should we comment on this? They say black people don't support her. Don't support her. I do. Give me your number. No, I'm just like. Shout out to Candace Owens. Let's fix that. Don't put that up there. Vanessa. Hopefully I get a heart there.
This is a tidbit for you. Like, there's a lot of questions that I have about the 48ers, to be very specific. It's very difficult to figure out who was arrested. I've reached out to people in Germany who I know and who I'm friends with. Everybody's terrified because you can get arrested in Germany. Like, you're not allowed to question the narrative. Like, World War II happened and then speech laws were passed. And as you know, speech laws are always passed when people are just totally telling the truth about everything, right? You can't say anything. We're going to criminalize speech because, like, we know that the truth, like, we're telling the truth. Like, that makes me uncomfortable. But yeah, I think that this is why when people in America today are saying that they believe that it's intentional, that we are having all these refugee crises in countries that are flooding our borders.
Let me tell you how, I know this is not what this is about. Let me tell you how popular this lady is, right? How many views do you think this video that we on got? We at 398,000 views on this live. Because we're talking about her. So people are very interested in what she's got. We're about to hit 400,000 views talking about her.
And they feel that they're losing their identity, whether it's, British. This is a big issue in the UK right now. It's a huge issue in America. And we're just kind of becoming this like multicultural melting pot, and simultaneously.
She doesn't sound anything like Alex Jones. No, she does not. No, she doesn't.
Called racist or anti-Semitic, whatever it is, if we call that out, yeah, this has been going on for a very long time, and I am not comfortable when I look into and learn that people like Solomon Morell, who were very much a part of trying to mass murder these people who he took part in it. He actually did. He committed these war crimes, there's no question, are then protected by the state of Israel.
And we just had 400,000 views talking about her.
Makes sense to me. And yeah, I can draw a thread between these radical communists and the radical Zionism that exists today in my own research. But again, this is stuff that we're getting into.
But shout out to her. I'm about to get off here. We're not about to rack up 1 million views on this. I'm gonna let y'all go finish some of the video on her channel and stuff like that. Shout out to her. As far as everything, I rock with her, man. I think it's good for Republicans to sometimes give pushback. Ultimately you want to try to, stand behind like the president and, what he's doing. But, if you feel like the country may be moving in a wrong direction, it's not good to just blindly follow, and that's, I think, the takeaway. She still supports Trump. She just doesn't like what was going on. And when he changed course and he went in on that and how you see that she changed course to where she's not like being as critical on him. So she just wants what she voted for. It's what it is. You know what I mean? That's what I got from it. As far as her argument, Pierce Morgan's argument versus her and her argument versus Pierce Morgan, I think she did very well. And I think Pierce Morgan, for the most part, was just playing devil's advocate, throwing things out there just to see her response to it. That's what he does. And we rock with Pierce Morgan. We reacted to a lot of his stuff. We kind of know how he rolls, and he's got a really good relationship with Candace Owens. So I think that's primarily what it was. He didn't have anybody up there to really give her pushback, so he was just playing like devil's advocate. But as far as I think she handled that very well. Very well. So shout out to her. We will be live talking about politics probably tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? We got a lot of subscribers in here. Shout out to everybody. Let me know if y'all subscribed real quick before I get out of here. Shout out to Sindela. I see you in here. Say I agree with her. Disappointment is evident. Dania in here. Shout out to you. Simpetrum. Shout out to you. James Dean said, I'm black and I support this message. Not me solo said, got a good stream, bro. I'm out. Appreciate you. Jonathan said, by the way, first person to ever mention my name on here. I do it, but probably would fold at the criticism. Shout out to Rachel Long, Vipool, Elizabeth in here, Elizabeth Everett. I see you in here. He says sub. All right, I appreciate y'all. Me Mine said Thug Life. Jose Rojan said he subbed. Anonymous said he subbed. Shout out to you. Craig Wilson, he been in here. Jimmy Vahalia said, get all the J's out of U.S. politics. The Lame has subscribed. Shout out to you. Attica. I'm going to shout you out anyway. I see what you said. Jake, shout out to you. Kingdom. Michelle. All of y'all. Archangel, I see you in here. But I'm out, y'all. Comment, rate, subscribe. Let me know what y'all think about that. Peace.